Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Hi, Bullhorn Betty. Thank you for my shirt. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Kids Club.
We're learning today that 2 have been arrested in connection with the triple homicide out in San Antonio, Texas. This is the case of Savannah Soto, Matthew Guerrera, and their unborn child, baby Fabian. They were gunned down and dumped at an apartment complex and were located on December 26th.
It was a heinous act. It was unspeakable, the tragedy of it. When we talk about the manner of death has not been determined, the manner meaning, was it a suicide or was it a murder?
You said that ME said that for Matthew Guerra it was a gunshot wound to the head, but when we called them, they said it's a contact gunshot wound. What does that mean?
It means that it was there.
However, with new evidence and new information coming forward, we have learned that they died on the 21st in early morning hours leading into the 22nd. It was right before midnight when the car was dumped in that video that you just saw. What we've learned since then is that this is potentially a drug deal that has gone wrong. This is a robbery homicide because everything happened from execution to dumping the car in less than 10 minutes, according to the affidavit. Let me know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here on TikTok to Bullhorn Betty. And don't forget, I have another channel. It is on YouTube. Please consider going over to Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories to get the latest and greatest on the up-to-date true crime news.
Once the new evidence came to light, Sheriff Gaylor was adamant that we needed to inform our community as soon as possible.
These were just a few words that the chief of police said at a press conference related to Rachel Morin, which went missing August 5th. However, she was found a day later, bludgeoned to death. Rachel Morin, mother of 5, often found comfort in being outdoors and working out. This was no different August 5th, around 6 p.m. when she went to the Maupassant Heritage Trail in Bel Air, Maryland. Nobody really knows what happened on that trail, but whatever it is, it was really horrible. A teenage girl found her body the next day during search efforts. The horrific scene only can be what is left to imagination.
Her death has grabbed local, state, national, and international headlines.
DNA was located at the scene of the crime.
DNA evidence is part of nearly every modern-day investigation, and in Rachel's case, DNA evidence was collected by our Forensic Services Unit. This DNA evidence has come back as a match, tied to a home invasion and an assault of a young girl in Los Angeles this past March.
This is the first time that we heard of an assailant associated with her case.
Unfortunately, that suspect has not been positively identified, but he did leave behind his DNA. In the video we obtained from the Los Angeles Police Department to be the person that murdered Rachel Morin on August 5th.
Rachel, mother of 5, died a brutal death. Can you help?
And the tip line number is 410-836-7788.
Hey guys, Bullhorn Betty here. This is Lela Santanello. Many of you know now that I am in Kingsport, Tennessee, trying to find answers. This is the last place that Lela Santanello was seen. She was seen here on June 26. Witnesses actually saw her at this hotel. She was distraught. She was only in a white tank top, black leggings, and no shoes. As you can see, this hotel is surrounded by woods. We're going to be going out there and searching for her. Law enforcement is coordinating their searches around Eastman Commons, which indicates to me that law enforcement hasn't received any information that she left the nearest vicinity to this place. We know she was here. We know she slept in the woods somewhere here.
Hey guys, so I'm out here in Kingsport, Tennessee. We are searching for Lela Santanello, beautiful 21-year-old mother. She has a daughter. And the reason why I'm standing at this field is because earlier today we met with this gentleman who was down further this way. And we did find out from this gentleman that her boyfriend was searching for her the next day, the day that she vanished. He saw her in this field looking for something. He saw her around between 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. Is that it?
Wait, what did you find?
It's a needle.
A needle?
Hypodermic needle.
So we found this area that appears to only have one person, but that looks like female clothes there. And this looks like male clothes here. But this looks pretty clean. This doesn't look like something that's been out here too awfully long. We took that information and we started backtracking it. We knew that she was here. We did hours and hours of searches yesterday, all through the woods out here. And from the creamery, from Five Below, we tracked it back to this building here. We talked to somebody at this building that did see her. And he said about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, he saw her kind of spreading apart all this tall grass behind me as she made her way over to that location. He had asked her, are you looking for something? Do you need something? And she did this, like she needed a cigarette. He said that she came from over here. This is a wooded area right here behind AmeriCorps. And we also learned from the same witness that her boyfriend was looking for her. He called her his wife, but he was looking for her. So, I'm not sure how I feel about that right at the moment. This is not looking good. I'm hoping that, this is not going to turn out bad. But I have to say, nobody has heard from her in almost 2 months. No social media activity, none of her friends, none of her family. She literally vanished into thin air.
2 separate tours, many, many hours, and many days of searching for Lela Santanello. We searched high and low. We searched all over Kingsport, Tennessee, and we did not locate her anywhere. And anyone and everyone we spoke to has not seen her since the day she disappeared. We searched abandoned houses and any place we thought she would be.
Her family has been struggling so much to find answers, and they have been met with lies after lies after lies from a lot of people that proclaim to be this young lady's friends. And for the family members of these people that know what happened to her, it could have been your daughter. It could have been your granddaughter. You need to ask them to stand up and speak up.
Because at the end of the day, all I really want is my daughter home.
Well, good morning, my beautiful people of YouTube and X and X. It's nice to see you all here. I hope you guys like that. Just trying to update some content and get that out to you guys. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Sunday. For those that joined us this morning for church, thank you. I just want to check my volume. Is everything, is it fine? Is it too high, too low? I've been trying to work on it. Especially with our, is that loud enough? Is it not loud enough? So just want to make sure before we get started. We've got a lot to go over. Perfect. Okay, great. It's nice to see everybody here this afternoon. I know, well, it's kind of morning, almost about to crest over in the afternoon. Speculation Station, the first in the house. Good morning, Love Bug, followed by November Rain. Our beautiful Sonia is in the house. Good morning, Angie. Cool Gamer, it's nice to see you. Miss Lee, mom of 3. Susan, Stevie's mom, it's nice to see you, love. Michelle Lynn is up in the house. It's nice to see you. Good morning. Sweet Misery saying, hey. Hey. If you guys don't know, Sweet Misery has been doing a lot for the Turtle Boy story, and she had a beautiful transparent. Her name was Ashley. Come up on panel to tell us some, past behavior, stuff that, we may not have known. Maybe you don't know. It's not to knock the avocation for the Karen Reed case by any stretch of the imagination. It is strictly just his behavior when engaging in those behaviors and in those activities. It seems like he has this pattern of going overboard. So we're just trying to show everybody everything, so everybody has all the information they need, because in my opinion, if you're going to work with somebody that's advocating for a cause, you need to make sure that they're coming from a place of a good place. And I just feel from what I've been seeing that, maybe Turtle Boy maybe if he was coming from a good place at some point in the past, it seems like that's got skewered a little bit. And hopefully he can get back on track on what his true mission is, because the behavior he's been exhibiting for the last several years is just atrocious, in my opinion. And I think that was showcased with Ashley and her story about what she had to go through. So at any rate, if you'd like to get over there, please go over to Sweet Misery and check out that content. And it is supported by a plethora of evidence, legit evidence and findings. So again, it's not just word salad. It is substantiated, and definitely think everybody should take a look. It's nice to see you. Don't forget also our beautiful Sonia. She's been doing her thing on her channel as well. You want to get over there. She's been really supporting a good, wholesome station, and she's been advocating for Lela Santanello as well as other more meaningful causes, to say the least. So get over there, sub her up. Mike Stevens, Big Back Mike, is up in the house. My beautiful Jen. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Who else do we have? Do I have to put my glasses back on? I'm becoming old as dirt. I don't like this. I'm squinting. It's going to give me headaches. It's going to give me wrinkles. No. Thomas, it's nice to see you this wonderful, wonderful morning. Good morning, Pete, up in the house. Nice to see you, Laura Dawn. Good morning, everyone. If I missed you, Bookworm, I see you. Who else? Am I missing anybody? Pebbles, our beautiful Pebbles. Linda Lou, thank you. And I did get your commentary. I think you've been spot on with a lot of stuff, as well as It's Me Too. She's been, oh, look at that. I'm smitten. Beautiful Huntress is up in the house. It's nice to see you, Love Bug. I hope you are doing so well. Tippy Toe, nice to see you. Else, our beautiful guidance. Our beautiful guidance is blessing us with her beautiful presence and aura. It's nice to see you, Lovey. And Mr. Pokey's Grammy, it's nice to see you as well. So I don't really want to take too much time because this is such a long, drawn out process, much like yesterday. Yesterday was 3 hours. It was like, it's really, when it comes to stuff like this, where we're going to be designating like 3 hours to a story, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we know this is going to be drawn out. So this is really, truly for the diehards of the Alec Murdaugh saga. So if you are an Alec Murdaugh saga diehard, ride or die fan, then this is going to be it, because we're just kind of, dissecting everything. And this is the first time we've had an opportunity to see what Buster said when he wasn't on the stand. We all kind of heard the testimony. For all of us that were watching the trial, we all heard his testimony on the stand. We're actually going to go back to that hour and a half of his testimony and preview it again. And we're going to be, because we heard from the interrogation, I'm going to call it an interrogation, okay? We're going to have one that's it's his testimony and one that's his interrogation, because I truly believe that was an interrogation. He was not there. I mean, he was probably there as a witness, but and being interviewed as a witness, because I think it was easily proven that he wasn't anywhere near the home at the time that this had happened. For those that are new and like, who in the world is Alec Murdaugh? What are you talking about? I am so confused, right? I'm so confused. Let me say, okay, here we go. So thank you, Sweet Misery, for donating one gifted Bullhorn Betty membership. If you received your membership from Sweet Misery, please tell her thank you. And that was followed by Jen. Our beautiful Jen is up in the house and has gifted another beautiful Bullhorn Betty membership. If you received that, please tell her thank you. So before we get started, I'm going to tell you the rules of the chat for those that are new here to the Bullhorn Betty channel. I am Bullhorn Betty. We have beautiful mods in the chat that's going to be moderating this show. So we have a few rules, and it's, you can say what you mean and mean what you say, but don't say it mean. There is one rule and one rule only, and that is don't be a Richard. I'm going to leave it at that this Sunday. I usually elaborate on what that truly means, but being Sunday and on the heels of us coming right out of church, I will keep it to myself so you guys can figure it out on your own. Just be nice to one another. We have enough mean people in this world, and we cover enough of the inhumane of our society. We ourselves don't need to do it. So thank you for following the rules. We're going to get involved. We're going to get into this now. To tell you a little more about this, the Reader's Digest version of this story, Alec Murdaugh was a well-known attorney in South Carolina. His family was of this historical dynasty, so to speak, because they were the solicitor, which is basically the state prosecutor for the Low Country for almost 100 years. They go down in not only the South Carolina history books, but also the U.S. history books for the long-standing family of the solicitor position. That was taken over, I believe, in 2010. Do your own research for the date of that if you need to. However, just a very powerful, notable family that wields a lot of political power as well as just power in the Low Country. A lot of people feared this family and also had a lot of problems when it came to the case of Maggie Murdaugh as well as Paul Murdaugh, which were gunned down on their estate at Moselle. Alec was arrested in connection with the untimely death, the murders of his son and his wife. Since then, a lot has gone on. Now we have to take a little rewind backwards where we came to, how we got to the murders. So in 2015, a boy by the name of Stephen Smith was killed in the middle of the road. Nobody knew how. The Murdaughs got involved. We don't know why. It's up to people's opinion as to why they were involved. However, Stephen Smith's case went unsolved for many years. It was just now, he was just recently exhumed. They now realize that he truly was hit with something from a vehicle, just not a direct hit of the vehicle. He did die exactly where he fell in that road. That was where he was hit, and that was where he died. Nothing ever happened. Fast forward, then in 2018, Gloria Satterfield, the longtime housekeeper of the Murdaughs, had an untimely death due to a trip and fall at the Moselle property. She survived that trip and fall, but she never survived the cause of that. So she never came out of the hospital once she went in. She succumbed to those injuries. And Alec concocted this elaborate scheme to sue himself on behalf of her sons in order to elicit some kind of insurance proceeds for them since their mother was untimely died. At the end of the day, Alex stole that money from them, and also was stealing money from other clients as well, and had previously set up a Forge account, which Forge was a well-known company that did a lot of stuff with conservatorships, type annuity type based, I guess, products, financial products. And so Alec had a Forge account. And so that was just about to be disclosed because in 2019, his son Paul had a boating accident, which left one person dead. Her name was Mallory Beach. And Alex was just about to go before the judge for a motion to compel him to turn over his financial documentation. Shortly after that, his wife and son were gunned down on the property. There was a foiled suicide plot at a church within a half hour of his home. At the end of the day, he was arrested for a litany of crimes, over 100 financial crimes, including the first-degree homicide of his wife and son. And he was found guilty. He's serving 2 life sentences right now. And then he was just recently sentenced for the financial crimes. I think it was 25 years or something like that. I can't recall. If it's important to you, you can do your own research for that information. So that brings us full circle to where we are. And yesterday, we realized Law and Crime had released Buster Murdaugh's interrogation when he was at the Moselle property days after his wife his mom and brother were gunned down. There were some things that we noted here yesterday was the lack of emotion that he exhibited. We also noticed how close in proximity his father was. At the beginning, he was sweating. We noticed he had a lot of fidgeting and tension. It seemed like he wasn't answering the questions. And we also caught him in a lie, a very big, in my opinion, a very big lie. The investigators asked if there was any internal family turmoil. And he told them no, when he knew very well there was definitely some family turmoil going on, predominantly Alex's drug problem. He absolutely had a pill problem. Now, we don't believe he had the pill problem to the extent that he said in court, because we all know if he took that amount of medication, he wouldn't be here. I mean, that's just the bottom line. He would be next to his wife and son. There's no way his body could handle that. There's no way anybody could handle that. So that fell on deaf ears and was kind of shocking, because we do know he does have a narcotic problem. Before we get started, I know we forgot to get to the language of letting go yesterday until we were to the end. I just want to read the language of letting go before we get started, and then it'll open us up to the phones. I'm going to open up the phones. We're going to talk. You guys watched his interrogation yesterday. We're going to watch his full court testimony today, and we're going to compare, what was removed, what was allowed, did he lie on the stand, was his testimony altered on the stand? Now that we have this original this original interrogation, we can now compare a statement on the stand. And that's really what I'd like to do, because let's face it, Buster's saying he doesn't feel safe and he feels like somebody's out there and they're going to hunt him down. I mean, they hunted his whole entire family down and did a great job at it. So without further ado, January 7th, save your life in a journal. Are you saving your life by writing about it in a journal? Sometimes I use a file in my computer for my journal. If I'm rambling, ranting, raving, writing something that could embarrass me if seen, I lock the file with a code. My words in my journal, whether it's on a computer or on a green Italian notebook, are meant for me and me alone. There are many ways to write in a journal. We can go on and on about whatever comes to us. That's helpful, especially if we're stuck. We can use our journal as a record, writing down what we did that day. It's a good place to write our goals and explore our fantasies and our dreams. We can write poems or short stories. We can write letters to God or our guardian angel, asking for advice, or we can just say whatever happened that day and then write how it feels. People may think there is a right and wrong way to write in a journal. I don't agree. There aren't any rules about journals. It's just a way to record and save our lives. Do you think your life is worth saving? I do. If you've been neglecting to do that task for yourself, why? God help me be aware of the respect and detail of my life. The activity is transfer your goal list to a journal and begin writing your responses to the meditations and the activities as part of your journal entry for each day. Use your journal as a logbook to record what you're doing and who you're doing it with as you pursue your dreams, or use it as a way of exploring how you feel, who you are, and what you want to do. Save your life in whatever way makes sense to you. So I find journaling, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, journaling to me is a therapeutic, right? It's a way to get some of the gunk out and it's a healthy outlet to get it out, because sometimes we feel pent up, emotions that are just feelings. It doesn't mean that we definitely want to push those on to the person that we're feeling about them at that moment. So by journaling and getting all those, emotions and anger and frustration out on paper, we're able to now deal with that person much better and salvage whatever relationship we have with that person. And it's a great tool to use. So if you're not journaling and you're having some problems, or you're not having problems, just capture your life, save those moments, save those entries. If you're not journaling, again, very therapeutic in this day and age when we have to walk on eggshells and everybody's filled with anxiety. It's a great tool to use to help, release some of that anxiety. All right, that's it. That's the soapbox, Bullhorn Betty soapbox for the day. Thank you for lending your ears for 28 full minutes to get this in. Yay! It's just something about hearing cheers that just make you happy. Isn't that right? Just like whenever you hear laughing, you can't help but not to laugh, right? Like even if it's a bad joke and everybody starts laughing, you laugh. All right, watch. Oops. I bet you guys laughed. See, I know. Okay, I'm done. Without further ado, let's get to the testimony that Buster said on the stand, and then we'll start working. I don't know if we'll have time to compare the two today. We'll try. We'll see where we are. We see how many times I got to stop and and go over this stuff, okay? We'll see. All right.
Good morning. Day number 21.
Hey.
Now the defense's case. As you all might know,
Can you guys hear everything okay? Let me know if you can't.
And that juror has to be replaced, and that juror is being replaced by juror number 530. Juror number 530, nod. 530. All right, juror number 530, you're one of the first 12 now. Participating member of the regular jury panel. And we'll press on with our case, and hopefully we'll not have much more attrition, but it's understandable the longer this case goes.
So basically what that means, to let you guys know, the reason, if you guys weren't following this case, let me just give you a little context. So during this trial, there were actually, 18 jurors selected, because this was going to be an extensively long trial they anticipated. So 6 to 8 weeks. A couple of the jury members basically said, I can be here for a couple of weeks, but I can't. So they had to have alternates. So they ended up having 6 alternates. And so through normal, they can't stop. If a juror is sick or comes down with COVID or gets the sniffles and can't come into and do their duties that day, the trial still has to go on. So at that point, that juror's done. They have to move an alternate into that juror's spot. And so that juror's then dismissed. So you have to have additional jurors there for anything that may come up that you didn't anticipate. You got to have somebody that's been there from the beginning. So that's why they have the alternate jurors. And in this case, we had 6 alternate jurors. And this is one where one had to be removed for whatever reason. We know some of them. I don't know if this is the egg lady one or if this is the other one, but either way, this is what was going on that day.
This case.
Thank you, Your Honor. Defense will call Richard Alexander Murdaugh Jr., also known as Buster.
I'm going to turn my microphone off so I don't make any noises while I'm drinking coffee, pouring coffee, typing, researching, whatever I'm doing. I am listening, and I will stop it, and we will elaborate on certain things. But this is Buster. This is the only surviving relative of Alec Murdaugh, because Alec Murdaugh gunned down his wife and Buster's brother, Paul.
Adjust your chair and your microphone. And if you'll state your full name and spell your last name.
Richard Alexander Murdaugh Jr., Murdaugh. I go by Buster.
Mr. Murdaugh, is your father sitting over here at the defense table?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury a little bit about yourself. Where you born? Where you raised? Where'd you go to school?
Right. So my name is Buster, 26 years old. I live in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I was born in Savannah and lived in Beaufort for about 2 years.
Justice Jane, it's nice to see you, love. Unicorn, Indiana. Nice to see you as well.
And I grew up in Hampton, went to Wade Hampton High School. And after high school, I went to a small college in Spartanburg called Wofford.
Is your mother Maggie?
Yes, sir.
And your brother Paul?
Yes, sir.
When you moved to Hampton, do you remember how old you were when you first moved to Hampton?
Three or four.
Okay. And did you live in Hampton, in a house in the city limits?
Yes, sir.
The town limits?
Yes, sir.
And you did that with your mom and dad and brother for how long?
For around 20 years.
Right. What schools did you go to coming up through in Hampton County? What you go to grade school?
Went to Ben Hazel Primary School, Hampton Elementary School, North District Middle School, Wade Hampton High School.
Okay. And as you were growing up, what were your interests, Buster?
Sports, playing sports, doing things outdoors, hunting, fishing.
And was your father involved in those interests with you?
Yes, sir.
And was your mother also?
Yes, sir.
And in what way?
Well, my father coached every little league team I played on up until I started playing for the schools in which had a coach.
And what about Paul? What were his interests growing up?
Paul's interests were outdoors mostly, hunting, fishing, playing around in the woods.
Right. Did he also play sports at times?
He did. Yeah, he played basketball and baseball.
Sorry about that. For those that don't know, Paul loved the Moselle property. Yeah, and I think that they kept that property more so for Paul than anybody else, because it didn't sound like Maggie really liked the property. She stayed at Edisto. It didn't seem like Buster was really crazy about the property. He didn't really care to be there. He didn't really care to do the work. And it sounded like, maybe Alec himself loved the property, but I feel like they kept that property more so for Paul than anybody else.
Did your dad coach him as well?
He did.
And would your parents attend all of your and Paul's sporting events as you're growing?
Every game. And it was a rarity for them to miss one. And then if they had to, they would call and explain. And
right. And at some point in time, did your parents buy this property off Moselle Road?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember roughly when that was?
Right around 2012, I think. I would have been a sophomore in high school.
And when that property was first purchased, did you move out to Moselle, or are you still living in Hampton?
So we had a house in Hampton and also purchased the property at Moselle, which had a house. And for the beginning stages of owning Moselle, Hampton was still working as our primary residence. But I believe it was Hurricane Matthew, or one of the hurricanes came through and blew a bunch of pine trees over on the house. So it had to get work done to it. And from that point, we moved out from Hampton to Moselle while the house was getting fixed. And more or less, it just it never transitioned back to Hampton. It just almost like Moselle became the primary residence.
And during this time, did your family also have a house at Edisto?
Yes, sir.
How frequently would you stay at the house at Edisto?
Very frequently during the summertime, almost every weekend.
And when your family essentially relocated to the Moselle property and making it primary residence, were you still living at home in high school, or remember how old you were at that point in time?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim. Will you say that again?
Were you living at home at that point in time? Was that while you were still in high school, or
yes?
School? You remember when you transitioned to Moselle and started staying there basically full time during the school year?
So when I was still in high school, we were living in the Hampton house, and then I'd gone off to college.
Okay.
Which is when the stuff happened, and they moved out to Moselle. So yeah, I was living at college.
And when did you go off to college?
2014.
Okay. So sometime after around 2014, family relocated.
So it sounds like he didn't really stay at the house at all. I'm not sure if that's what he's alleging, but he said I don't think he ever really stayed at Moselle. That might be a lot to do with it too.
Related to Moselle for the most part because
right.
of the hurricane damage.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell the jury a little bit about the Moselle property. I know they've heard a fair amount, but I think you probably know it better than anybody.
Yeah. So the Moselle property it's roughly 1,700 acres. And a lot of that is really not even accessible. It's a lot of swamplands, a lot of stuff that you just, no road systems or anything like that. But a big portion of it is has road systems and everything. And it's a big property. It's broken up into several different parcels that border each other. And, we have 20 some odd deer stands, dove fields, duck ponds, just all over the property. So
What type of hunting did you and your brother and your father do at Moselle?
everything: deer, duck, quail, dove, hogs.
You have a duck pond?
We have a duck pond.
Okay. And the hunting was, did you have a lot of friends come out and hunt as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the jury has seen a aerial view of the property, and there's a main house, there's shed, kennels, and then there's a house sort of right on Moselle Road. What do you call that house?
That's the cabin.
The cabin. And did you live in the cabin with friends over summers at some point in time?
I did. The summer of my sophomore year, after my sophomore year, me and two of my buddies lived in the cabin.
Okay. And who are those buddies?
Nolan Tootin and Rogan Gibson.
Okay. And the so we can get more of this. We've heard about hogs and pigs on the property. Can you tell the jury a little bit about that?
About the hogs?
Yes, sir.
We had a lot of hogs, and if you don't know, hogs are very destructive to a piece of property. You know, we plant food plots for the deer, plant the fields for the doves and the ducks, and they basically go through and ruin it all. So given the high population of hogs, we, would frequently go out and hunt them, try to cut the numbers down a little bit.
Did what kind of guns did you have there at Moselle?
We had a lot of guns.
Did you have shotguns?
We did, shotguns.
Sorry, we're gonna just take this back because it panned over to Alex's face and he almost had a smirk on his face. So we're just gonna listen to that again. We're gonna listen to that again.
So, what type of hunting did you and your brother and your father do at Moselle?
And also, he didn't elaborate in the original, but they didn't ask. They didn't ask, they were asking, what did you hunt out there? Did you have any problems with anybody? He said, no. And now they're going to be going into this elaboration of, hogs and how destructive hogs are. So I have a funny feeling this is a way to explain why guns are just laying around all over the place and all over the property out there. I have a funny feeling. We watched this before,
Everything.
but we watched this testimony before, but honestly, I can't remember what he said. That's why we're watching it again and not going off memory, especially in light of us getting a hold of his interrogation.
Deer, duck, quail, dove, hogs.
You have a duck pond?
We have a duck pond.
Okay. And the hunting was, did you have a lot of friends come out and hunt as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the jury has seen a aerial view of the property, and there's a main house, there's shed, kennels, and then there's a house.
Sorry, guys.
Sort of right on Moselle Road. What do you call that house?
That's the cabin.
The cabin. And did you live in the cabin with friends over summers at some point in time?
I did. The summer of my sophomore year, after my sophomore year, me and two of my buddies lived in the cabin.
Okay. And who are those buddies?
Nolan Tootin and Rogan Gibson.
Okay. And the so we can get more of this. We've heard about hogs and pigs on the property. Can you tell the jury a little bit about that?
About the hogs?
Yes, sir.
We had a lot of hogs, and if you don't know, hogs are very destructive to a piece of property. We plant food plots for the deer, plant the fields for the doves and the ducks, and they basically go through and ruin it all. So given the high population of hogs, we, would frequently go out and hunt them, try to cut the numbers down a little bit.
Right there. That's what I'm talking about. Right there. That smirk on his face. Holy smokes. He's trying to explain there's some reason why they're focusing on the hogs. And then you got this grin, this S-eating grin on his face.
What kind of guns did you have there at Moselle?
We had a lot of guns.
Do you have shotguns?
We did shotguns.
You have 12 gauge shotguns?
12 gauge shotguns, 20 gauge shotguns, 16 gauge shotguns, 28 gauge shotguns.
Right. And how many type rifles did you have on the property?
A lot.
Can you just name some of them?
Yeah, 270 short mag, 7mm 08, 308.
We need to compare this to
243,
the list that he gave during the interrogation.
300 blackout.
And what type of ammo did you keep on the property?
Well, I mean, all ammos for those calibers.
Sure. And where were the guns kept primarily?
In the gun room at the main house at Moselle.
And was there a pool table in the gun room?
There was.
Okay. Were there times when guns were left elsewhere on the property?
Yes.
Where else on the property would guns be left?
Well, just myself. I mean, I've left them up at the shed before. I've left them on golf cart used that day, left them in a truck. I mean, guns would just not always find their way back to the gun room.
How about Paul? How was he with securing guns?
Not good.
What do you mean by that?
He would, Paul left guns.
I mean, call me a little crazy, but isn't there something where Buster said yesterday, we'll have to go back. This is going to take a little bit because I'm going to have to go back to the hour and a half interrogation and then go through this again. But I'm pretty sure, like, even the guns, they had him list the guns that he thought that they had at the house in that interrogation inside that vehicle. And I'm wondering if that matches the list that he said here. And also, they asked him specifically about whether they left guns out. And he said, yeah, I know I've left a gun here or there, but he never elaborated really on Paul. And so I think that's giving him the ability to kind of elaborate here because they know that they had never elaborated about it before. I don't know. Just my assumption. Do your own research, obviously develop your own opinion of the situation. But I thought he seemed coached inside that car when he gave when he was interrogated. And I feel like he's even more prepped for the stand here. So does he know more than he's saying? Does he really believe his father didn't do this? Or is he just being a good son and trying to help his dad out?
Guns probably more on the property than anybody else. And
let's go back and listen to that.
And sometimes else. And he would... Paul left guns probably more on the property than anybody else. And sometimes sometimes he would use my gun and then he would leave it and then I'd have to track it down.
Right.
He never said that in the interrogation.
Paul carried guns in his truck.
He did.
I thought he specifically said, we'll have to go back because I thought he specifically said, they asked him if he carried a gun in his car. And I'm almost positive that they asked him if he was informed or knew whether or not his brother did, but I could be wrong about that.
Locked up?
No, not all the time.
Did at some point in time you and Paul receive 300 blackouts for Christmas?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember roughly, was that 2016 or 2017?
Sounds right.
Okay. He said 2018.
And what color was your 300 blackout?
It was black.
And have you been sitting in this courtroom during the entire trial?
Yes, sir.
I remember that.
And the jury's seen a black 300 blackout. Is that yours?
It is. That is my 300 blackout.
Was that the one you got for Christmas?
Yes, sir.
And what color was Paul's?
Paul's was black and tan.
And when you say black and tan, what part was tan and what part was black?
So the receiver would have been tan and and barrel would have been tan.
What part would have been black?
Stock, maybe.
Okay. And so yours was all black, his was black and tan.
That's right.
What happened to his that he got for Christmas in 2016?
His gun was apparently stolen, lost.
He's starting to wipe his eye. I noticed that must be a nervous twitch in him.
How do you know that?
That's just what Paul told me.
What happened to your gun after Paul's was stolen?
My gun became, what we would both use.
And what did that create some confrontation between you two at times?
Yes, sir.
And why?
Well, kind of like I just touched on. So he would use it. He's not very good about putting it back where he found it. I leave it somewhere. I go back and, want to get it, and it's not there.
Did you notice, were you aware that Paul got a replacement at some point in time?
No, sir.
Well, you heard about that in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But up to that point, did you ever see Paul use the replacement?
No, sir. I've never seen a replacement.
So every time in your presence, Paul was using a 300 blackout, which one would it be?
Mine.
There's, I'm not going to pull these guns out, Buster, but there's been just discussion, and the jury has seen a 12-gauge Benelli with a Mojo sticker on it. Whose gun is that?
That's mine.
And what's Mojo?
Mojo is a brand of decoy. It's basically what it is it's, say you buy a wood duck Mojo and it sits on a pole, but the wings are motorized. So it's to replicate, a more alive duck.
And why's your Benelli have a Mojo sticker on it?
Because I bought a Mojo decoy, and in the box it came with a sticker, and I put the sticker on the gun barrel.
And so that way that's your gun.
That's right.
I believe the evidence in the case is that Mojo Benelli, when it was seized, was loaded. Did you frequently put the gun away loaded?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Knowing that I might need it again at any point.
Okay.
I have to be honest with you. Just FYI, like my gun is loaded at all times. It's got its safety on, but my gun is stored loaded. So I don't really know what this question was about, but I can see that. I can see it because I do the same thing.
Just, put it back on the shelf. I kept the safety on.
Okay. And I think it was loaded with a 3-inch and a 3.5-inch turkey load. Do you remember that you would load that gun with a 3-inch and a 3.5-inch?
Yes, sir.
And why would you do that?
I do that because when I go turkey hunting, the goal is to, get the turkey close to you and shoot it in the first try. But if I were to miss and the turkey goes running away and I try to shoot it again, I put a bigger shell, larger shell behind the smaller one for that purpose.
Okay. And that's something you commonly did?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever load in a 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 28 gauge, a buckshot followed by a bird shot?
No, sir. I've never done that.
Have you ever known anybody to do that?
No, sir.
Do you know of any reason to do that?
No, I can't think of any reason to do that.
And specifically, have you ever loaded in any gun a buckshot followed by dry lock, steel, waterfowl pellet?
I have not.
You know anybody to do that?
No, sir.
You know any reason to do that?
No, sir.
Okay.
But the question is, did they have those types of bullets on grounds? And if so, why? If they don't use them like that.
And you ever seen any guns on your property loaded in that fashion?
No, sir.
Buckshot with some sort of bird shot right behind it?
No, sir.
And not only that, but who else? Because obviously it is the contention of the state as well as the defense that somebody came on that property and used their guns. So if they're establishing that their guns are already preloaded, then it would have been preloaded to whatever they had in the chamber at the time. He's saying that they don't load them that way. How would the person coming on the property, one, know where their ammunition is stored? And would they have gone and got ammunition to change out the ammunition that's already stored in the guns? Again, this stuff doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now, in my opinion.
The jury's heard testimony about goings and comings, which way you go in and go out at Moselle. How many entrances were there at Moselle?
2 entrances.
And will you describe the 2 entrances?
So the main entrance is pretty much straight out of the front door of the house. You would go down a dirt road and then you would come up on big brick columns, and that's what I refer to as the main entrance. But down by the kennels is another entrance, and that one is a little bit different. That one has the mailbox beside it, and those are the 2 entrances.
Okay. So let's talk about coming onto the property. Which entrance coming onto the property would your mother normally take?
I would say normally everybody took the main entrance unless that there was a reason that you needed to go down the other one, which for her reasons of going down the other one would be the mailbox. And also when we got packages delivered from Amazon, they actually would go to the shed as opposed to the house.
So your deliveries would go not to the yellow or whatever white house that you lived in, but down at the shed.
That's right.
Okay. Now, leaving Moselle, the property, which way would you, Alex, your mom, Paul normally go leaving Moselle?
Out of the main gate.
And if you're going to Almeda, which way do you turn coming out of the main gate?
To the right.
In 2020, 2021, during the summer months, where did your mother prefer to stay?
At Idaho.
And where were you staying, say, in the spring, summer of 2021? Where were you living?
Spring, Moselle.
And then summer, where'd you move to? Or
I was down at Idaho a lot in the summer.
okay. And then and where was Paul living in the, say, spring of 2021?
Spring of 20 or 21?
21. Now, maybe I said the wrong thing. In the spring of 2021, where were you living?
Spring of 2021.
Did you have an apartment in Columbia?
Yes, I did have an apartment in Columbia.
Split time between Columbia and Moselle, and
yes, sir.
And you have a girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then in the summer of 2021, well, in June, where were you living?
Between Columbia and between Rock Hill.
Okay. And who lived in Rock Hill?
My girlfriend's mom.
Okay. And then in the spring up through June
Thank
of
you,
2021, where was Paul living?
In Columbia.
He had an apartment in Columbia?
Yes, sir.
And was he enrolled at University of South Carolina in the spring of 2021?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then once school got out, you know where Paul relocated to? Anywhere?
No, not exactly. I know that.
You would think that these would be simple answers. You should have had plenty of time to think about this.
I mean, I think he went down to live with John Marvin, and he was working for him for the summertime.
And who's John Marvin?
My uncle.
And what kind of business does John Marvin have?
He has a rental business, and he sells Kubota tractors.
And where does he have store locations?
One in Okatee, one in Hampton.
And was Paul working at the Okatee location?
Yes.
Just sort of backing up, did you and your dad and mother and brother Paul do a lot of things with your mother's family, the Brandstetters.
Yes, sir.
What type of things would y'all do?
Well, we gather every holiday, and other than that, we would do trips together. We would go down to Key West, go over to my Aunt Mary and Uncle Bart's lake house, river house, just
right,
stuff like that. Take trips, family trips.
And I'm just going to pull up on the screen, Doug, Defendant's Exhibit 122, which is in evidence, Your Honor. And Buster, take a look on the screen, and I believe you're testified about this. Can you tell the jury what this photo is?
This is a photo of me and my brother and my mom and my dad.
And was this taken in, I think, May 21? You were up for a baby shower, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where was this?
So this is this is at Lake Kiwi in a community called the Reserve.
Okay. And y'all are visiting with whom?
With my aunt and uncle, Aunt Mary and Uncle Bart.
And for what purpose?
For my oldest cousin's baby shower.
All right. And was events like this unusual or
no,
fairly
sir.
frequent?
They're common.
And was your father close with Maggie's dad, your grandfather, Papa T, as it's been heard in this, it's been known in this courtroom?
Yes, sir, he was.
What kind of things would they do together?
They would do a lot.
I just have, I don't know if anybody else has this problem. Let me know. Like, I feel that Buster is just either in denial or just, he's acting like everybody is just in this great, everybody gets along, but he doesn't remember simple things about his own brother. I remember when we've seen it, it always made me wonder, was this really as tight knit of a family as we have been led to believe? Because, I mean, just hear me out. Is it possible that even though Buster's here and he's, speaking on his dad's behalf, he's obviously testifying on behalf of the defense, not the prosecution. Is it possible that he basically left home? Like, it sounded like there was some type of financial problems and they had to move out of the Hamptons. That's what it sounds like to me. And I think there is some testimony kind of in that realm of possibilities that there was some type of financial issue. They sold the house. They bought the house in Moselle. This is a place that Paul ended up loving, but it was right on the heels of a Buster, graduating from high school, and he was off to college. It doesn't sound like he ever really lived at this Moselle property. It sounded like he was a Hampton baby. And when he was no longer a Hampton baby, he went over to, Rock Hill and Columbia, in the Columbia area. And it just seems like he seems to be fairly disconnected from the family. Yeah, the family does things. They have functions, holidays, and they were all there for Memorial Day with friends, and a circulation of people coming in and out. That's what was said by Buster yesterday during the interrogation. So it sounds like he's there. He's part of the family, but it also sounds in the same vein that he's also ultra disconnected and doesn't know the comings and goings of his family. So it just shows that, yes, he's part of the family, but it doesn't sound like he is as close as we've been led to believe. Potentially. I don't know. I don't know your thoughts.
A lot together. For a long time, there was my grandfather had a camping
Good
trip.
morning, Bear Down, and Hindsight.
Like
It's nice
that.
to see you.
Dad and Papa T would go to Carolina sporting events together, play golf together.
And did you spend a lot of time with your dad and your grandfather, Papa T?
Yes, sir.
You play golf with him?
Yes, sir.
We'll get to that in a little bit. And let's talk about your dad's side of the family. Was it a close-knit family?
Yes, sir.
And and your grandfather, your dad's father, his name was what?
Handsome.
Handsome. And that was a nickname, I think.
Yes, sir. It's what grandchildren called him.
Everybody.
Well, it started as grandchildren calling him, and then all of our friends started calling him that.
But that was Randolph Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
And then your grandmother's name, Libby?
Yes, sir.
And they live close by, is that correct?
That's right.
Where do they live?
Almeda.
And in relation to, I guess, Hampton, where's Almeda?
So straight down 278, like you're going to Yemisi.
Okay. And how far away is it from, say, the law office of PMPED to your grandparents' house?
Right.
Roughly how far is that?
10 minutes.
Okay. And how far of a drive would it have been from your house in Hampton?
I mean, roughly the same.
Right. And you know roughly how far of a drive would have been from the house in Moselle?
Probably more like 20. 25 maybe. And did you and your mom and your dad and your brother Paul spend a lot of time with the Murdaugh side of the family? Yes, sir.
And what would y'all do together?
Similar stuff, obviously gathering during the holidays, various things like that. We would take trips with that side of the family as well.
How many people believe that they probably did more with the Murdaugh side of the family than the other side of the family? And this literally comes back to my comments related to why there's no headstone. Like I'm really bothered personally by the fact that Maggie and Paul have no headstone. Still, all these years later, have no headstone. It's bothersome for me. I don't know why, but it is.
You know, get out everybody, rent a big house, you know, meet up on the water on the weekends, just a lot of stuff going on with that side of the family as well.
And so I guess let's go back and, well, let's identify on your dad's side of the family. Did your dad have brothers and sisters?
Yes, sir.
Who are they?
John Marvin, Randy, and Lynn.
Okay. And then John Marvin, Randy, and Lynn had children, did they?
Yes, sir.
So he had a lot of cousins?
Yes, sir.
And families would get together, those cousins and aunts and uncles?
That's right.
Okay. And was there property down on Chichessie that y'all would spend time at?
Yes, sir. That was the family river house, Chichessie.
And where is that located?
So it's located in Okatee, Waters Avenue, off the Chichessie River.
And they have all these family properties too. He's talking about one right now.
In the spring, in May and June of 2021, what was your grandfather Handsome's health condition as you knew it?
Not good. He wasn't in good health.
What do you understand his health problems to be?
I understand he had cancer, and I understood that, you know, he was having a pretty big battle with it.
And what was your grandmother? What'd you call your grandmother?
M.
Yes,
sir.
What health issues did she have in May and June of 2021?
She has Alzheimer's.
And would your dad frequently check on Handsome and M?
Yes, sir.
Would you go with your dad to check on Handsome and M?
I would occasionally go with them too. Yes, sir.
Okay. And what times of day would you go with your dad to check on your grandparents?
It could have been any time. Went over at lunch a lot of times. Went over in the evenings a lot. Just no real set schedule. Just kind of mosey
Nice
on
to
over
see you,
there.
Lulu.
When would your mother go with your dad?
She would, not regularly, but she went.
Would Paul stop in and check on your grandparents?
Yes, sir.
Was that fairly regularly for something Paul to do?
Yeah, Paul would do it regularly as well.
When you would go with your dad in the evenings, and maybe it's not limited to the evenings, where would you park when you go visit your grandparents?
For the most part, just like a ordinary afternoon visit, parking, you know, the garage, the carport, But if we went over a little bit later, then we would pull around to the back side of the house and be able to enter through the back door.
Okay.
I don't believe that. I've never believed that statement. I don't know if I ever will believe that statement, because we had photos of the grounds, the Almeda property, and where he's saying they pull up to that back door, there wasn't a tire print on that grass. And that grass was beautiful and it was lush. So this is one of those things, because they had triangulated Alec Murdaugh's vehicle on that property. So what many of you may or may not realize, I know that not everybody had an opportunity to watch the trial with Alec Murdaugh. During the trial with Alec Murdaugh, they did not have the GM forensic data, the black box that's in most of our vehicles this day and age. And it tells law enforcement when we crank the car up, when we engage that car into drive, when we put it in neutral, when we reverse, when we use our blinkers, when our phones connect to the freaking car. It's a little scary, a little too big brotherish for me, if you really want my truth about it. But I digress. I mean, this was not in the prosecution's hand. This happened, like they had, if I remember correctly, forgive me if I'm off a day or two, but if I recall correctly, I remember them, it was almost like day 1 or day 2 of the trial. And Creighton Waters stood up and said something to the effect like, we never received any GM documentation. We never received this. We never received that. So we don't have it to go on. And then it was like the very next day, that night, they had this paperwork, this GM paperwork during trial. They did not have it prior to trial. And so they gave it over to the defense, and the judge allowed it in because he was giving the defense plenty of time to review it and challenge it before they got to that point in trial, because it was newly discovered information. It wasn't something that was withheld from anybody. It was something that wasn't fulfilled by GM in the discovery process that they obviously turned over. So at this point, they now know that Alec was at that property and where he drove his truck on that property. It's pretty interesting how almost pinpoint they are. They even knew when he left Almeda, he stopped at the gate and got out for 2 minutes. He came to a complete stop there for 2 minutes. And, if you think about it, if you timed yourself, 2 minutes is a really long time to be sitting there. Usually if cars are coming and you're trying to get out, by 2 minutes, you're pretty frustrated by having to wait so long. So it was a significant pause right there as he was leaving the Almeda property, which Almeda is Alec Murdaugh's mom and dad. And this is who Buster is referring to as handsome, which is, Randolph Murdaugh is Alec Murdaugh's father and Buster's grandfather. So I just wanted to give you guys that context, because we're not hearing this. The way he's explaining it might confuse somebody. So now he's talking about them going around to that back door. And I'm saying it doesn't seem plausible to me, because if they did that often, you would see tire patterns in the grass. The grass is lush. You would see it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There would be clear patterns of tire impressions that go up to that back door, and there are none.
And what's at the back side of the house?
So when you walk in the back side, it's like we call it a sunroom, but it's, a dining table. It's got a TV in there. And then that is right next to the kitchen. And then if you're in the kitchen and you go to the right,
I agree,
then that's where
Reggie.
my grandparents' room is.
Doug, if you could pull up page 38 from State's Exhibit.
Big Mac Mike, calling Big Mac Mike to the front of the room, please. Big Mac Mike, I just want to let you know, you missed something, because this is pretty telling. I think now that we're reviewing these statements that Buster's giving, I can tell you now, I feel like and I agree with you, Reggie, it's been rehearsed. And I believe he is intentionally and willfully misrepresenting facts to help his father at this point. I absolutely 100% believe it.
524, please. That's in evidence. I believe it is. Page 38.
Oops, there we go.
Yes. And that's page 38.
Hey, Paralegal Liz. Nice to see you.
So, Buster, this is from State's Exhibit 524, which is evidence. Which
okay. So I'm going to pause this.
GPS.
This is what I'm talking about. Look at those. Can you guys see that? Hold on. I may have to back it up. Here, let me back it up just a little bit. Let me look at that. They have pinpoint, but see how he goes over here behind the house? Look at all that greenery back there. There ain't no way that's a normal parking spot. There's no way. No earthly way. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Not without seeing some imprints. And we never saw any imprints of tire tracks on that grass. I'm telling you, I remember this. I remember making this statement back then when this trial was going on. And I'm saying it again. There's no earthly way. I mean, there's I guess a possibility. We believe in possibilities, but not probability. It's not probable. I don't give a I'm sorry. Lulu's Nana. Thank you, Love Bug. Thank you. God bless you. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Sunday fun day, huh?
Test data off the OnStar provided from General Motors. And can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what's that house?
So that's my grandparents' house at Almeda.
All right. And these dots in the back, and I'm going to point to this line of dots just right next to the circle that Doug drew. Do you see them with the?
So I think he's referring him to hold on, to these right here.
Yes, sir.
I think.
Where's that on the property?
So that's right off the back corner of the house.
Is that a place where you'd normally park to go in the back of the house?
Yes, sir. That is where.
Have you parked there yourself?
I have.
Have you seen other family members park there?
I have.
Is that a customary place to park when you go in the back door where the kitchen sunroom is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, it's not.
I'm going to show you some photos, which are exhibits. $130 to $136.
If they show the one of the grass, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to pause it and show you. There is no way somebody's parking.
Ask you if you can just identify them. Don't show them to the jury, but just tell us what those photographs.
Don't show them to the jury. Leaving the witness. Big Mac Mike, you've been fired. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
So these photos are of the area we're talking about off the back corner of the house at Almeda.
All right. Your Honor, this time I move defendant's exhibits 130 through 136 in evidence.
Okay.
Thank you. So Doug, please pull up exhibit 133.
All right, I think they might show it.
And Buster, tell us what 133 is, please.
Look at that grass.
Yeah, so this is the back door entrance to where
Pay
I was
attention
just
to the
talking about
grass.
to enter into the sunroom kitchen, into the kind of back quarters where my grandparents' bedrooms were.
All right, and if you'll pull up 134, Doug, please.
Look at that grass.
And what's 134?
Same thing, same backside of the property, just little bit of a different
There's
angle.
no way.
So the part of the house to the right of the photo, what's that? Can you see here?
Yeah, so that right there would be my grandparents' bedroom.
Okay, so that's in the evening, your grandparents would be in that part of the house, is that correct?
Yes,
So
sir.
they're saying that the grandparents are over
And
here.
if you went to the garage entrance, what would happen? What would be required of your grandparents or some sitter to let you in?
Yeah, so you could go and knock, but a lot of times they're in the back part of the house and they don't hear you, so you normally call and say.
Okay. I've got to stop it here. I got to stop it here because we now, we've all watched this trial. For those that haven't, let me explain it. Okay. So the lady that was staying at the Almeda property that night said she got a call from Alec Murdaugh. This is her testimony. We may have to go and review that. So she said she got a call from Alec Murdaugh that night to come there, and that it took him over 5 minutes to get there. She waited there to unlock the door for him, and it still took him another 5 minutes to get there. So that kind of negates what Buster's about to say here about the requirement of having to walk through the home and having to wake somebody up, because let's face it, they did have to get the caretaker up, and the caretaker did have to let Alec Murdaugh in that home. So we're going to hear this, but I want you to keep that caveat in the back of your mind when you hear his statement.
Say like, hey, I'm at the front. I need to be, let in. And they'd have to walk from the back to the front, unlock the door, and let you in.
But if you're in the back, how far is the walk?
Quarter of the distance it would be to walk it's very short.
And was it common to go in the back door?
Yes, sir.
And is it?
And common go in the back door may be true, but where he parked, unfortunately, doesn't make sense.
Please pull that up, Doug.
I think this is going to be it. Let me see. It looks like it's the shot. There it is.
So
outside, I mean, look at that. There is no way without having, this is lush grass. I don't see outside of normal mow marks. And you barely even see them. I don't see where cars are parking in this area. I don't know anybody that would allow cars to park on this beautiful grass, manicured, lush grass. It would destroy the grass. The grass would die where the patterns of the tire tracks. If it was normal and customary to park back here, you don't have that. Yeah, and Lulu's Nana, you'd be the perfect person you would know if somebody drove on your grass, on your lush grass. Tell me you would not see the pattern, a perfect truck pattern, and if it was a common place to do, everybody drives back here because it's easier to get to that back door. You would have clear parking marks. You'd have clear disturbance on this lush grass. You see none of that. Again, look at the grass. That's all I'm saying. Don't smoke it. Just look at it.
Yana, can you step down off the stand and point to the jury where? So Buster, step aside so that the jury you're not blocking their view. I don't have a pointer, but can you point out in this photo where you would normally park? All right. Yeah, point out to the jury where you normally park to go into the.
So you would park, right about here, coming right off basically the corner of the house, and this is the same stairway to go up to the back door.
So you'd park in the grass.
Yes, sir.
And
ain't nobody parking in that grass.
Satellite dish, or not near the satellite dish?
Yeah,
Objection.
Where would you park in relation to the satellite dish?
Yeah, right there close to it.
There ain't no way.
All right. And that was.
There ain't no way. Right by the satellite dish. Okay, let me back this up. Let's let's see. You know what? Maybe I'm blind. Maybe I'm blind. I'm sorry. I don't see where anybody's parking there. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. But if now, granted, I really don't have a whole lot of grass here. I won't lie to you. I got a sand pit. Okay, my backyard's a sand pit. Very limited grass, right? Very limited grass. I mow weeds at this point. I'm just joking, but seriously. So if this grass was here, so I may not know. You may not be the best person to answer this because let's face it, I have a sand pit, not a grass pit, right? This looks like some beautifully manicured yard. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I'm jealous. It is so beautiful. This yard is so beautiful and well taken care of. I'm jealous of this yard. Absolutely, hands down, I'm jelly. I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. Jelly, 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 right? But again, show me where somebody's parking on this grass or where somebody has parked on this grass or how it's so common that people park on this grass without ruining this grass. Because I'm telling you, this must be some stinking magic grass, okay? This must be some magic grass that they can just trample all over it with those big old trucks that they have out in South Carolina and never put a mark in this grass, never destroy this grass, never even have a ridge from a tire in this grass. That is some amazing grass. Oops, wrong one. So it's magic grass. This might be the grass you need to go. It might be cheaper to go over here and pluck some of this grass. It seems like it's the magic grass. There you go, Jen. I just saved you. I don't know what does it cost this day for that stuff. I don't know. Don't put it in the chat. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. All right, let me back this up again. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't see where people are parking on this grass. I mean, call me crazy. People with grass would know if you park on grass, what it will do to it. I don't see evidence of this to support his claim.
Now, hang on, Buster. I'm sorry. Come back. What's this structure right here?
That's what we call the cook shed.
And maybe there's.
That's a cook shed.
And what's in the cook shed?
A couple couches, big TVs. That's mostly where my grandfather used to have a cookout on every third Thursday of a month, and that's where he would have his little gathering. It's just an open concept in there with a kitchen, TV, a couple couches.
All right. Hang on, Doug. Can you pull up 132 while Buster's still standing here? Buster, what's this structure to the right of as you're looking at the cookhouse?
That's old shed.
Okay. Now, roughly, what's the distance between the cookhouse and the cook shed to where you'd normally park to go in the back door?
10, 20 yards, maybe.
Okay.
You know what? As a matter of fact, I don't see any impressions from trucks, period. You got a few little lawnmower lines here from a rider. I mean, I see rider impressions in here. I don't know how many of you guys got this on your big screen, but I don't see where anybody's driving on this grass, parking on it. I mean, maybe they've driven on it before to go, if they're carrying stuff, but I don't see it being a common occurrence like Buster is alleging that it is, because if it was a common occurrence, you'd have more of the wear pattern in the yard where you don't. It seems like it's more uncommon than it's common.
Buster, how often would you speak with your mom and dad on the telephone on a daily basis?
Pretty much every day.
Right. And would
As you know, he says he speaks. I do believe he speaks with mom and dad every single day, or close to it. I do believe that statement, but I just find it a little odd that he's so disconnected with his family and in the comings and goings, especially in light of speaking with his mom and dad every single day.
would you be with your dad when he's talking to your mother?
Yes, sir.
I guess can you give the jury some sense of how frequently, as a family, y'all would engage in telephone conversations daily?
Yeah, it was very frequent. I mean, I spoke to my mom every day, multiple times a day, and the like for my dad and for my brother too. And then
he just said he talks to his brother every single day. Did he just, I just heard him say that. Why I didn't hear him say that before, but he just said he talked to his brothers, he talks to his mom every single day, and the likes are the same with his father and his brother. He just said that. Let's go back. I'm going to go back 30 seconds. I want to hear that again. But he just testified before that he really didn't, he doesn't know much about his brother. How can he say he talks to his brother every day but doesn't know the comings and goings of his brother? It seems like to me, if you were speaking to your sibling every single day, you would have some kind of understanding of their comings and goings. Call me crazy. People do, right?
Can you give the jury some sense of how frequently, as a family, y'all would engage in telephone conversations daily?
Yeah, it was very frequent. I mean, I spoke to my mom every day, multiple times a day, and the like for my dad and for my brother too. And that's just me. And I know it's like they're all talking to each other too. Just a lot of conversating throughout the day over the telephones within the family.
Okay. So, Doug, I'm going to pull up State's Exhibit 520.
Look at that grin on his face.
Is an evidence, and
like
this
what?
is the
heck?
Rudovsky extended or extensive timeline, not the condensed version. State's 520, and if you'll go to page 14, please.
Yeah, maybe. You might be right, criminal.
So, Buster, what I'd like to do, and this starts at just at 1:11:10 p.m.
It's blurry on the screen, guys. It's not my screen. I've got my glasses on, and it's a blurry print that they're displaying. So it's not anything that we're doing here wrong. It's just a blurry print.
You could blow up that first entry, Doug. And this is in evidence offered by the state.
That's much clearer.
And I just want to go through some of these again. So at 1:10, this document says Paul Murdaugh misses a phone call from Margaret Murdaugh. And then at 1:11:36, it says Maggie makes an outgoing phone call to Buster, answered 1 minute and 22 seconds long. Do you have any independent recollection
1 minute. Well, let's hear what his recollection is. But
of this particular phone call?
No, sir.
Okay.
I guarantee it's probably mom saying, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Do you need anything? How's things going?" And a normal university kid's like, "Everything's fine, mom. I'm okay, mom. I'm doing great. I love you too, mom. Please don't worry, mom." Something like that. 1 minute and 22 seconds is enough for about a conversation like that. Hey,
But if
Pittsburgh
you keep working your way down, at 1:19, Doug, there's another entry. It says Paul Murdaugh makes an outgoing phone call to mom. You see that? At 1:19.
Yes, sir.
And then if we'll go down to
yeah, because you notice the conversations with Paul are much longer, almost 5 minutes each and every one of the calls. She's got one at 1:19 answered for 4 minutes and 40 seconds long. It must, well, it looks like it's 4 minutes and 40 seconds because they came in about the same time. It looks like they called each other back over here. So I don't
guess
know.
let's just stop there. Is it frequent that your mother would reach out to you and Paul during the day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you'll go down to 141, please, Doug, at 141, 33 seconds. And you see Maggie makes an outgoing phone call to Buster. Do you see that? At 142, I'm sorry.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
and he doesn't answer.
And then right before that, at 141, it looks like Maggie makes an outgoing phone call to Alex and not answered. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
And then if you go right below that, it says 142:43, Maggie makes an outgoing phone call to Paul. Now, you see that?
Yes, sir.
Well, anything unusual going on this day, or is this sort of how life was in the Murdaugh family?
No, this was normal. This was the way we communicated.
Okay. And then if you'll go to page 15, Doug, at the bottom at entry 1 minute 50.
Oh, that sounds fun.
1:52:39 p.m. Says Maggie Murdaugh makes outgoing phone call to Buster, answered at 1:19. So here's another call from your mother. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Not unusual, was it?
Not unusual.
All right. Then page 16 at 1:55:40. If you'll take a look, blow that up, Doug. Says Maggie Murdaugh received an incoming phone call from PA Alec Murdaugh. Answered 6 minutes and 18
I don't think
seconds.
that's him. I think
And
that's his dad.
Your dad and mom apparently talking, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then right below that at 1:56.
I just want to note, and it's a mild observation, but an observation all the same. And it kind of comes back to him being disconnected from the family. When you look at the calls made between mom and Paul, they're 4 or 5 minutes long. When you hear the calls made between Maggie and dad, mom and dad, they're 6, 7 minutes long. When you have mom speaking to son, it's a minute and a half. A big difference in the communication between the family members, the immediate family members, just an observation that I'm noticing.
18, there's some instant messages to you about some medication. Do you remember what this might be about?
Yeah. So this was about, I take a medication called Dupixent, which is a self-given shot. And I was up in Rock Hill and I needed to get the medicine delivered to this address here on the screen.
Okay.
And that's what we were talking about. She was, calling the pharmacy to get it redirected to that address.
Normal day. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Doug, if you go to page 19 at 3:24:20 p.m. Excuse me, I'm sorry. 3:24:35. Alex Murdaugh receives an incoming phone call from Buster. 518 seconds. Sitting here today, do you remember what the phone call was about?
No, sir. I don't know specifically what it's about.
But just normal.
Yeah, just
day in the life of Buster Murdaugh.
That's right.
Talking to his parents.
Yes, sir.
It makes you wonder why this call log, this entry was deleted out of Alex's phone. The reason why I'm saying that is because when you read it, it says Alec Murdaugh receives an incoming phone call from Buster for 518 seconds. I don't know how many minutes 518 seconds is, but it has to be. So the longest person he's talked to so far, and it's something like, 7, 8 minutes, 8-minute conversation. But it doesn't show in Dylan Hightower's extraction. The extraction would mean that they hook the phone up to that machine and download the stuff from the phone. So it would imply, at least from where I'm sitting, that call, that entry was manually deleted, it appears, which is a little odd. Okay, sweet misery. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, honey.
If you go to page 24, Doug. at 4:42:56 p.m. See, that looks like at 4:42, your mother's calling you again, right?
Yes, sir.
Anything unusual going on?
No, sir.
And then if you'll go to page 26, Doug, at 5:16:25 p.m. And there's an entry that says Alec Murdaugh calls Buster Murdaugh. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Looks like a 6-second call. Do you remember what that might be
Doesn't
about?
show in the extraction. Another one that
No,
doesn't show.
6 seconds could be a butt dial. That would happen often.
All right, and then if you go down the bottom of the page at 5:21:11, looks like there's a 92-second call, which is about 5 minutes after what might have been the butt dial. It says Alex Murdaugh receives a call. Buster answered 92 seconds long. You see that?
Yes, sir.
So are you returning your dad's call, you think?
Probably.
Okay. And I'll just carry through. If we'll, Doug, if you'll go to page 32 at 6:52:13 p.m., please. Pull that up. Thank you. So this entry says Alec Murdaugh calls Terry Brandstetter, 412 seconds. Who's Terry Brandstetter?
Papa T.
Papa T is Maggie's father. Okay. Brandstetter is Maggie's maiden name. Terry is her dad's first name. So this is Maggie's father.
Would your dad call your grandfather fairly regularly?
Yes, sir, he would.
So again, anything unusual going on the 7th for y'all to have all these communications?
No, sir.
Hey, sweet Melissa.
And then we'll jump to page 49, Doug. And if you go to 9:08:58, and it says Alec Murdaugh iMessages Maggie Murdaugh stating, quote, going to check on M, be right back, close quote. Now who's M?
My grandma.
And this is at 9:08:58. And then at 9:10:47, there's an entry that says Alec Murdaugh calls Buster. And it says 60 seconds long. And that's at 9:10:47 p.m. on June 7th. Do you remember getting that phone call?
Yes, sir.
What did you talk about? What did you talk about?
Basis for the objection.
Reacting to hearsay.
Pardon?
I don't open the door to anything else. I was reacting to hearsay.
I asked what the topic was, Your Honor.
Objection's overruled.
Yeah, don't say what your dad said. Just tell me what y'all talked about.
Yeah, well, we just talked about like, hey, how you doing? And then he said that he was going out to.
Hang on. Okay. I mean, I thought he didn't want to hear hearsay, but I'm sorry, Your Honor. Go ahead.
And he was just letting me know that he was going out to Almeda to check on them.
Okay. And was this a unusual conversation you had with him?
No, sir.
What was his demeanor in the conversation?
Normal.
Had it changed from any of the other times you talked to him?
You're not lying,
earlier in the
Justice
day on the
Jane.
7th?
No, sir.
And would he on occasion call you when he was going to check on his mother, M?
He would. Yes, sir.
Was that an unusual occurrence?
No, probably one of the more regular occurrences. we all usually would make phone calls like riding in a car. So when he was riding over, it's very common for him to call.
You can take that down, Doug. So just going through this extraction from, say, 1 o'clock until what we just talked about, 9 o'clock. We did either multiple phone calls within the family. Tell the jury about the cell phone coverage at Moselle.
Not great cell phone coverage. Didn't have a lot of service, especially around. So if you were underneath the shed, at the shed, it had a metal roof. It just couldn't get any service inside of it. It was spotty around the whole property, and it had honestly gotten bad up at the house. We had just put on a new roof. Roof was metal, and just kind of hindered a lot of the phone coverage out there.
I thought they had, excuse me, I thought they had Wi-Fi. I mean, it doesn't, they're talking about the coverage inside the home. I'm not sure who has, good coverage inside the home. I really don't. Like for me, I have horrible coverage if I didn't have Wi-Fi. We have Wi-Fi calling on our phones capabilities. Like our phones function very well by being hooked to the Wi-Fi when we're in homes and in buildings like Walmart. They give us, when they have the big metal roof, which is hard for the signal to penetrate. But it's my understanding they do have Wi-Fi at their homes. So, and I heard that they have Wi-Fi out there at the hunting cabins. So if they have Wi-Fi at the hunting cabins and Wi-Fi at the home, why aren't they using the Wi-Fi calling? Why are they having issues inside the home? It's a little odd. It's hard for me to wrap my head around that unless he's misspeaking or I'm misunderstanding what he's saying, which is possible.
Would it be unusual for your dad to leave his phone at the house when he was going down to the shed?
No, sir.
Can't lead the witness.
No, sir. Would not be unusual.
Okay. Well, did your dad always have his phone with him when he was on the property at Moselle?
Not all the time.
Did your brother always have the phone on him when he was at the property at Moselle?
Not always on him. He would have it near him, but he's out there working on stuff and didn't always have his phone just in his hand or in his pockets or anything like that.
Did your father ever misplace his phone?
Yes, sir.
Was that a frequent occurrence?
It was.
How about your brother? Did he ever misplace his phone?
He did.
Was that frequent?
It was.
Now, there's been some testimony about Bubba.
Yes, sir.
Who's Bubba?
Bubba was our dog.
What kind of dog was Bubba?
He's a yellow lab.
And
Bubba is the one that I believe Bianca has. Bianca is the new housekeeper that they had hired after the death of Gloria Satterfield, and she was maintaining the house. She had a lot of great testimony to give to this case, especially the behaviors after Paul and Maggie had been killed. And she now has the dog, Bubba, in her. She takes care of the dog. The dog's now hers.
Was he difficult to control?
He could be, but for the most part, no. He would listen to Dad more than anybody else. But also, we had a gun dog shot collar that we would put on him sometimes, and when he had that on, he was on his P's and Q's.
The switching gears, another topic. When your dad, well, let me just put it like this: how frequently would your dad take a shower or bath?
He could take them a lot, and he, working out there, if he goes outside and sweats a lot, comes back in and takes a shower.
Was that normal routine for him?
It was.
And did he sweat a lot?
Yeah, it's hot out there in the summertime.
Was he a lot bigger then than he is today?
He was.
How big was he?
Probably 6'4", 250, 260.
Right.
I can't stand that smirk on his
Excuse
face.
me,
Lordy,
Buster, were you
Lordy.
aware that your dad had a opioid addiction?
A little bit. I knew a little bit about the usage of pills.
What did you know?
Let me ask you guys, do you guys believe that? By a show of ones and twos, if you believe he only knew a little bit about this opiate addiction his dad had, put a 1. If you believe he knew a lot more, if he didn't know, put a 1. If you believe he knew a lot more than he's alleging, put a 2. I'm curious what the audience thinks about this. Yeah, I think he knew a lot more because, again, he didn't bring this up in his interrogation. Remember, we even stopped the interrogation and talked about that very specific thing. Is I found it awfully odd that he never said anything when he was given an opportunity to talk about some of the issues within the family, and he chose to leave that out. And I felt he left that intentionally out. And I want you guys to notice, if we believe that he's lying about this, I want you to notice his behavior on the stand, because he's keeping a very cool as a cucumber demeanor up there, just like he did in the vehicle when we knew he was lying and not being truthful. And, him being the oldest kid, he was probably around his father a little more than maybe Paul was at the office or whatever. Maybe some of that knowing what makes people tick rubbed off on Buster, potentially. I'm not, again, I'm not alleging one way or another. It's just observations that I'm seeing. You guys have to make the decision for yourself. But if you feel that he's being untruthful here, you need to be paying attention to his body language.
What about it?
I knew that either my brother and mom had found them at some point, and then told them like, "Hey, we found these." And I want to say the 2018 around Christmas, he went to a detox facility after Christmas. And
how many people know very little about a problem within their family, but know their father? Now, remember, he just gave testimony. We just heard it. We stopped it. We discussed it. And we've been discussing it for some time because he seems a little disconnected. But is he? Because it seems like he almost wants the appearance of disconnection, probably to disconnect himself from some of these things. But he's saying he talks to his family on the daily, right? We just heard that. I mean, they just went on this huge dissertation about how common it is to talk to the family several times a day. And then you take that and you're listening to this, and he doesn't seem to know about this family drug problem. Not that family has a drug problem, but the issue within the family that Alec has this substance abuse problem that he talks to every single day. And then all of a sudden his dad goes to a detox. He doesn't ask any questions. He doesn't become informed. And now, a behavior that he's accustomed to, speaking to his dad daily, most likely has been disrupted, and he still doesn't ask any questions. He still knows nothing about this. I don't know. I just don't know. It to me seems like this is not being very truthful.
That was my knowledge of it. Thought that handled it. And then there were a couple more times after the fact where they would kind of go into this finding pills, all that stuff. And then he did a few kind of like at home, just self-detoxed a couple times. And, thought, once he did that, get.
So it sounds like he knows a little more about it then he doesn't know much about it. I mean, if he didn't know much about it, he would only know the one main thing of him going to the detox center. If he didn't know that much about it, how does he know about these home remedy detoxes his father was doing? That, seems a little more involved and a little more knowledgeable than he's alleging here, in my opinion alone.
Get off of them, but that was kind of my general knowledge about it all.
You thought he had beat it.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Thought he would beat it, but doesn't know nothing about it.
And when he was confronted about his pills, what was his attitude?
I don't know for sure because I wasn't there when a lot of the confrontations happened with them finding the pills. But I mean, I've never heard anything, just, apologetic and,
right.
Sorry. And
if you don't know, then how would you know that?
Would usually be his kind of regular, kind of response.
His regular
How
response.
Did your family handle disputes, disagreements?
Pretty, I mean, like adults, pretty civilly, talked
Pretty
about it.
Civilly.
Stuff like that. I mean, and it just depends on.
Pretty civilly. So civilly. His family's so accustomed to civility in dealing with their situations that his brother smacked his girlfriend across the face the night of the boat wreck. Yeah, I'm sorry. It just seems a little odd to me because I don't really know anybody that really a sibling that still lives at home with their mom and dad engages in violence or that kind of behavior if their parents has never engaged in that kind of behavior. Is it possible? I'm sure it is. I'm not going to say I didn't look into the statistics or anything like that, but still, I feel like there's, I don't know. I feel like this is again something that doesn't really ring true to me personally.
On the dispute too, like,
right.
Like I was a kid, I get spanked, stuff like that. It's not really a disagreement. That's just
once you're a teenager and college age,
right?
Any reprimand or disputes you've gotten into with your father, was it all civil?
Yeah, definitely civil.
Did your father show patience with you and your brother?
Yes, sir. He would.
Was there ever any violence in the family?
No, sir.
No violence in the family, but there is recorded violence. There was absolutely witnesses to Paul smacking his girlfriend, but no violence in the family. On the stand is what Buster says.
In February of 2019, your brother was in a boating accident. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe, where were you living at the time?
Columbia.
And was he criminally charged eventually?
Yes, sir.
And what type of reaction was there to his involvement in the boating accident and his criminal charges sort of in the community in Hampton?
I would say a negative reaction in the community. The media spike kind of got going after it. There was a lot of articles in the media about our family and stuff like that.
And to your knowledge, was Paul being threatened or bullied on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, he was definitely being bullied on social media. Just people sending random messages, and I would talk to him. I know a lot of times he'd be walking down the sidewalk and.
Now, remember, law enforcement pressed him on that very issue, whether he was getting bullied online. And he specifically said no, that his recollection and understanding. Now, remember, this was literally 3 days after his mother and brother were gunned down on that property where he was actually interrogated. And in that, they specifically asked him these questions, and he told them that he was unaware of anything online, that it was mostly in person, where he'd go somewhere and somebody would say something under their breath or try to pick on his brother or something like that in person. He was very clear very clear on the fact that he was unaware of his brother getting any type of text messaging or online communications. We'll go back and confirm that to be true. But I almost remember that because it's like I almost remember us discussing it yesterday. So again, pay attention because I feel like he's being deceptive up on the stand. I didn't know he was being deceptive at the time because, again, we didn't have that initial interrogation. Now that we have that initial interrogation, we can see the differences in his statements.
A car comes by and they would yell some stuff at him. I knew he would go out, in a bar and, there's somebody that wants to talk about it and, make a scuff about it, whatnot.
Right. The, what was, your mother's reaction to all the negativity surrounding the boating accident?
It, it kind of consumed her. She's big on reading all of it. And when she read the negative stuff, it, made her feel upset and whatnot. And it ultimately kind of caused her to distance herself from Hampton. At this time, primarily living at Moselle. She quit going to the grocery stores in Hampton, quit going to the pharmacy, quit going to get food in Hampton, just thought that there was a real, kind of a bad vibe in Hampton. Like she felt like people were staring at her and talking about her and stuff.
Where would she do her shopping?
She moved over to Waldoboro and started going over that way.
Right. Were you sued in the boating accident?
Yes, sir.
No response.
With regard to relevance, Your Honor, it's civil litigation about the boating accident has been a big part of the state's case. He's a party to the litigation.
Overrule the objection.
Were you sued?
Yes, sir.
Was your dad sued?
Was
your mother sued?
Her estate became sued.
But before she was murdered, had she been sued?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
Maybe.
And do you know if Paul had been sued?
No, I don't know that he had been sued.
Okay. What was your mother anxious about the civil lawsuit?
Yes, sir.
What was her biggest concern?
I would say her biggest concern was reading articles after, Mark Tinsley had made a statement about how much money he was wanting to collect in the civil lawsuits. And I think it was to the tune of like $40 million or something like that. He was trying to get, and that made her anxious.
And what was your reaction to statements like that?
Well, I mean, I knew what he was saying, but I mean, it's not, to me, it just didn't seem, I didn't think, well, I don't have $40 million. So.
Right. And was your dad anxious about the lawsuit, to your knowledge?
He didn't appear to be overly anxious about it.
What took priority, the criminal case against Paul or the civil case?
The criminal case.
Right. And did the family support Paul in the criminal matter?
Yes, sir.
And what do you mean by that?
I mean that supported him in his criminal case because, amongst the family, none of us thought that he was driving the boat. We thought he'd been
at the time of the accident.
Sorry about that, guys, but I wanted I was having some issues getting this thing off mute. I just wanted to expand on the fact that again, a mistruth, because they're worried about a criminal. They were worried about his livelihood, I guess, referring to Paul's, because he was charged with most likely operating the boat under the influence, which resulted in death. So he was probably looking at some time behind bars, potentially. And so I'm sure the criminal aspect was a concern to the parents. But I'm sorry, I don't know even the wealthiest person that's not swayed by a $40 million lawsuit. Okay. That's enough to make anybody, mess their pants, if you ask me. So, again, it just doesn't seem, it just seems like he's not being truthful. And I didn't, again, I didn't realize it at the time, because we listened to this at trial. We had nothing to compare it to. So naturally, everything on the stand we believed. Well, I got to say, there are some changes in his testimony from when this all happened to what he's saying on the stand today. Or not today, but, when this happened, which we were there for. And just to let the audience know, we're going to be at the motion for new trial that's happening in Richland County. We'll be there on the 29th for that. So if you would like to help participate, it's a $1 will do campaign. We crowdfund for these types of trips, so we can go out there, record it. If you'd like to, you can participate by, $1 or whatever you can contribute to our PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo accounts. Thank you, and God bless.
That's correct.
Buster, I want to now talk about the weekends leading up to June the 7th.
Yes, sir.
And we showed the picture of the lake weekend where you were went up to Kiwi with the Proctors and the Brandstetters.
Yes, sir.
And then the following weekend, I believe, was Memorial Day. Were you with your family on Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, sir.
And who was present?
A lot of people were present. I was there. My brother was there. My mom, my dad. My brother had some friends staying with us, and those were the people sleeping there. And then people are, in and out throughout the day, throughout the weekend.
I mean, was it a fun family weekend?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it a normal Memorial Day weekend at Edisto with your family and friends?
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you Defendant's Exhibit 123, and I want to get you to identify it, Buster. Don't just say what it is, please.
It's a picture of my mom and my dad and I on a boat.
Is that Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we move Defendant's Exhibit 123 in the evidence.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Is this the photo, Buster?
Yes, sir.
And then I believe this same weekend there was a birthday party or cookout. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Doug, if you could play Defense Exhibit 61, please. It's in evidence. Let's take a look at that.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you, baby.
It's just so sad because they were all so happy. You see Paul bringing out the birthday cake, and they were on the boat that weekend. It's just sad.
Your mom make a cake for your dad?
Yes, sir.
And that was a group of friends. When's your dad's birthday? Do you know the exact date? It's not a test. You just say you don't know if you don't know.
No, I don't know the exact date.
It's around Memorial Day?
That's right.
Okay.
27th, maybe.
Then the following weekend, there was a baseball tournament in Columbia, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Tell the jury about that weekend. What happened there?
That was the weekend. South Carolina was hosting a regional baseball tournament, and me, my mom, my dad, and my girlfriend went to the baseball games.
And where was the game?
Columbia.
And it was a super regional or
regional?
A regional.
Yes, sir.
And what days of that weekend did you go to the game?
Saturday and Sunday.
Did your mom and dad stay in Columbia that weekend?
They did.
Or they stayed on Saturday night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you, did y'all tailgate with them on Saturday or Sunday?
Yes, sir. We did.
Okay. And was it a normal weekend?
It was.
Fun weekend?
Yes, sir.
And that Sunday would have been June the 6th, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then on June the 7th, we went through a host of number of telephone calls.
Yeah, a number of telephone calls. Let's talk about the telephone calls now that we know that the telephone calls that they were referring to were from the day in question. What did we learn? We learned he talked to his father more than any other person in his family that day. I'm sorry, that's what it tells me. He spoke to his father for 518 seconds when he only gave his mom a total of what, 180 all day? So, you know, we're kind of looking back on this, and we're probably, you know, and I'm starting to get into like a rabbit hole and a conspiracy theory here, but I know we're all kind of thinking it. Why was he the one that was saved? Why was he the one that wasn't asked to come home? Maggie was asked to come home, so much so that she couldn't even lock her Edisto property. She had to have one of her workers lock it because Alec wanted her to come home right then and there. And she did. So lots of, you know, we're kind of rounding out. We have about 26 more minutes of this raw testimony from the court hearing. And the only reason why we're rehatching this is because it was just released, his interrogation that he had only 3 days after his mom and brother were gunned down on the Moselle property. So, you know, we just want to make sure that we know, because we're about to go to we could potentially be going and approaching a second trial. I don't want to go through a second trial. I don't want to go through this again. This was hard on the families. This was hard on, you know, just everybody. And look at all the repercussions that have come from this. I mean, Becky Hill is on, you know, ethics complaints. It doesn't even matter if she's found, and she's done nothing wrong, and she's found completely, and is exonerated of everything. It doesn't matter. The smear's there. Nobody's going to believe it at this point. We all know it. We all know how this stuff works. So, I mean, her basically her career is pretty much over because she clerked for this case, whether or not she did anything wrong. I'm withholding judgment. I mean, this doesn't look good. This whole wiretapping thing with her son, you know, that I believe, you know, no matter how you look at it, I believe she was involved in. You guys know my stance on that. So I just felt that I needed to express that.
With you and your dad and mom leading up to 9/08, 9/10 on June 7th. Buster, when did you first find out that your mom and brother were murdered?
My dad called me. I can't remember.
Okay. Now that I know they're getting into this questioning, this is what I'm going to ask of all of you. Okay. We saw how he was questioned right after this all happened, 3 days. 3 days after this happened, he's being questioned by law enforcement. We watched that yesterday. If you guys did not see it, please go back and watch it. It was, to me, it opened up a lot of doors. So I definitely recommend everybody going and watching it. And then now we're getting into this day. One of the things that we notated in his explanation and interrogation is his lack of emotion. At the very beginning, he was profusely sweating, which was a problem. And then throughout the interrogation, he was very fidgety. And as soon, and I mean as soon as he got out of that vehicle with law enforcement, Alec Murdaugh was like literally right there. It was creepy. It was creepy. It was like he was creeping. That's how creepy it was.
Remember the exact time, but it was later. And he called me on the phone. He asked me if I was sitting down, and I was like, yeah. And then he, sounded odd, and then he told me that my mom and brother had been shot.
What'd you do?
Well, Brooklyn, my girlfriend, was with me, and I think she heard she could hear my conversation kind of over the phone. And so she just started packing stuff, and I kind of just sat there for a minute, and I was in shock. But eventually we got our stuff together and drove down to Moselle.
Do you remember what time you got to Moselle?
It was early in the morning, late in the morning. If we left around 10:30, 11, got there sometime probably around 2:00 in the morning.
And when you got there, did you see your dad?
Yes, sir.
What kind of condition was he in? What was his demeanor?
Yeah, his demeanor was, he was destroyed. He was heartbroken. I walked in the door and saw him and gave him a hug and
nothing.
Just broken down.
Could he speak?
Not really.
Was he crying?
Yes, sir.
Who else was in the house? Do you remember?
Yeah. My girlfriend Brooklyn and I got there. Out in the driveway, my Uncle Randy and Uncle John were out there. Chris Wilson and Corey Fleming had just gotten there. They had pulled in behind us. And when I walked in, several of the partners were there. Ronnie Crosby was there. Lee Cope was there. Mark Ball was there.
Just a matter of fact.
Austin
Total
Crosby
Don Wells.
William
Total
Barnes.
Don Wells here.
My buddy Nolan was there. And I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but that's what I remember.
And do you remember how long you stayed there?
Stayed there several hours, probably 3 or 4 hours till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
And where did you go?
And then we left Moselle and we went to Almeda.
When you say we, who are you talking about?
My girlfriend, my dad, and my Uncle John.
I know this seems kind of trivial, but what was your dad wearing when you first saw him?
Shorts, t-shirt.
Okay. And did you help him pack?
Sounds like the outfit he was wearing when they were planting the tree. Like he had that outfit on, but I don't know when that was. I think that was earlier in the day when it was just him and Paul. But he was in shorts and a t-shirt. But he was in like a Columbia style shirt out at the kennels, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong though.
I did, yes.
What'd you do to help him pack?
Got his bag and went into the closet, grabbed some t-shirts, grabbed some shorts, grabbed toilet kit, put it in the bag and left.
Why were you doing the packing?
Just trying to help him. He was so upset. We were all upset, but just trying to expedite the process of getting to Almeda.
When you went in to pack your dad, was there a t-shirt laying on the floor?
I couldn't remember.
Did you get shirts from above the?
I'm sorry. I just feel like they're using Buster to explain all the phenomenons going on in that house at the time, because Bianca, let's face it, was very damaging And the fact that there was water in the bathroom, which doesn't normally happen unless somebody takes a shower in, very close to that time, that there was clothes from the top shelf that were knocked over on the floor. This was testimony that she provided. And it seems like they're using basically Buster to explain all of these weird phenomenons, but they're not asking him, did you cross over the pajamas laying there for your mother just on the floor? It's just, there was just a lot of oddities that went on this day that just doesn't make sense. And the behavior of Buster is just what I thought was believable before when it comes to Buster now is just, it's really starting to irritate me, to be honest with you.
Where did you get the t-shirts from?
Hey,
Got 'em from the
Skittles.
closet, and there's like a wooden, it's like wooden shelves up on the wall. And I was getting the t-shirts from there.
Were there a lot of t-shirts on the shelf?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether or not one of the t-shirts fell on the floor when you were packing?
I don't know whether one of them fell on the floor or not, but I mean, certainly could have happened.
He itches a lot when he's fidgety. I think that's his. I think that's his tick, his lying tick. I don't know why.
Were you able to get some sleep?
No, sir.
Did you go back to Moselle the next morning?
Yes, sir.
And who went with you?
Me, my girlfriend Brooklyn, and my dad, and maybe John Marvin. I don't know if he was riding with us or already out there separately, but he was somewhere in the mix.
Do you remember roughly what time you got to Moselle?
I mean, I think we got there rather early. Nobody really slept, and it was about early in the morning. Sun comes up. Just
Did
go back.
Did you take a shower and Brooklyn take a shower at Almeda, or did you do it over at Moselle?
No, sir. We slept tried to sleep at Almeda, and then we took everything back with us to Moselle, and we showered there.
Does that make sense to anybody? I mean, it just I don't want to say he's lying. We weren't there. It's not for me to decide, but does that remotely make sense? I mean, I don't see people that can barely sleep, so they're already tired. It seems like that shower would be much needed to wake them up. It just doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me that they would not sleep and not shower until they get to the other house. And why would they wait until they got to the other house when they packed up all the clothes and their clothes are where they're at? So do they pack a secondary bag to go to the house to shower? I mean, we didn't dissect his statement before because we had nothing to compare it to. And now we do. And it's falling a little flat. I must be honest.
You know where your dad took a shower that morning?
Yeah, Moselle.
And when you went
I
back
know we all
over,
felt like we had fleas.
In the morning, do you know what your dad was wearing? When you were traveling from Almeda?
No, not specifically, but I know that,
Well, wouldn't
I
it
know
be
what
the
I
same
packed, so
clothes
if
he
there's
went to
any of that,
bed
it's
with?
just athletic shorts and t-shirts and stuff.
Your response should have been the same outfit he went over there in.
And after you got to Moselle, and I guess just carrying the days forward, were you with your dad? Well, how often were you with your dad once you got back to Moselle on the 8th?
Yeah, every day.
For how many days?
For a good while.
Okay, so let's talk about where you stayed on the 9th of the 8th. Do you remember?
The day after his mom
Night
and
of the
brother
8th
run.
would have either stayed back at Almeda, or that's potentially when we made the transition over to John Marvin's hunting lodge.
Were you, would you say we, or are you including your father?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you drive together?
Yes, sir.
And was he pretty much in your eyesight for the first few days?
Yes, sir.
And so after the 8th, and then you come up on the 9th, a Wednesday, do you know whether you were at Almeda or spending the night at your Uncle John Marvin's place?
Yeah, I think at that point we had switched over to his place over at Greenfield.
Yeah, and you call it Greenfield. That's the name of his hunting.
Yes, sir. Just the name of the property overall.
Property. Now, how far is it from Almeda?
To Greenfield?
Yeah.
A couple minutes. I mean, not
Close
very.
by. Close
yeah,
by.
right down the road.
And then, and do you remember how long you stayed at Greenfield with your dad?
Yeah, I mean, several days. And, I think anywhere from the 9th to the, probably that rest of that week through that weekend.
This is where I forgot. This is where they're going to start getting into. You remember how I just made the statement that I felt like they're using Buster to kind of take care of all these phenomenons in the story? He does it again. I forgot about this. It's all starting to come back to me. And this is where he starts explaining how Alec has clothes everywhere. He leaves clothes at John Marvin's. He's got clothes at Almeda. He's got clothes, a plethora of clothes, because they got to explain why they can't find the clothes he was in the night that his wife and son were murdered. The clothes disappeared. And so his son's going to be here explaining how he's got clothes everywhere. Okay, well then if he's got clothes everywhere, why are you packing him a bag at the house where you can't remember whether you knocked off a shirt or not when he's got clothes everywhere? You're about to hear it. It's coming up. I can feel it because I remember this. I remember this.
Yeah, on Thursday, June 10th, what happened?
Grandfather died.
So the family was together and stayed together?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever remember your dad disappearing for any periods of time?
No, sir.
Were you physically close to him most all the time?
Yes, sir.
Except when you were sleeping?
That's right.
Remember, his father was the man that had the substance abuse problem, that snuck around to do the substance abuse, was under substances during this time, according to his own testimony, and absolutely on a mess of narcotics, so much it would kill about a herd of elephants. But Alec Murdaugh somehow survived it. But he managed to keep an eye on him the entire time. The entire time. I just want to put that in perspective. That's what his testimony is. I'm not putting these words into his mouth. He's saying those himself.
I believe the funeral for your mom and brother memorial service was on that Saturday?
Yes, sir.
And then that Sunday was a funeral for your grandfather.
Grandfather, yes, sir.
Saturday. I wonder if grandfather, you know what? This is a problem. This is something I didn't check, but you know what? I'm going back to South Carolina at the end of this month. And the one thing I didn't check, I wonder if grandfather's got a stone for him. Does grandpa have a stone? Does he have his headstone? Because remember, according to his testimony, his grandfather was buried a day after his brother and his mother. This must have been a shock to the whole family. 3 people died, and you've got Buster on the stand here. And so far, out of his interrogation and his time on the stand, he has not shown one tidbit of emotion at all during this entire case. He seems to be covering his father's butt, if you ask me, and explaining away all these things, in and all contradicting some other testimony as he gets further into his testimony. And then we have the interrogation where he shows no emotion, is sweating, and his dad is literally chomping at the bit for him to be out of that truck. It's odd for me. That's all I'm trying to express. It's just a little odd for me.
And at some point in time, you went to. Did you go to Somerville at some point in time?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when you went to Somerville?
Right, beginning of that next week.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 129 and ask you.
We discussed previously, we're objecting on the hearsay basis to 129.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I'm not introducing 129, offering it to the witness to refresh his recollection. That's the extent.
All right.
But it's for ID. Buster, I don't want you to publish that, but I want you to, I want to ask you if that Defendant's Exhibit 129 marked for identification purposes refreshes your recollection as to when you left to go to Somerville.
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what is that? What's that document you have in your hand?
It's a text thread between my girlfriend and I.
And does it have, so based on that text communication between you and your girlfriend, it refreshes your recollection. When did you leave to go to Somerville?
June 14th.
And looking through there, refreshing your recollection, how long did you stay in Somerville?
Stayed in Somerville until the 17th.
3 days.
And then what do you remember doing after you left Somerville?
On the 17th, we left Somerville to go to Lake Kiwi.
And so when you were in Somerville from the 14th to the 17th, who were you staying with?
Staying with my grandparents.
And then you went to Kiwi. Who did you go with?
Went with my dad and I, my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and their children, their children's boyfriends, and that was it.
So you're with your dad.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
The night of June 7th and through the Kiwi trip. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Reggie. God bless you guys.
And you remember what you did after the Lake Kiwi trip?
No.
At some point in time, you decide, I've got to go back to Rock Hill?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Remember roughly when that was?
No, I mean, I think it was sometime following all this, but I can't tell you exactly when I went back to work.
When you decided to go back to Rock Hill, you had a job in Charlotte, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any discussions with your father about your personal safety?
Yes, sir.
Did he make any offers to you?
He did.
What offers did he make to you?
He offered me to.
Well, you can definitely watch it because we'll be there.
Basis for rejection.
It'll be published.
Hearsay, self-serving hearsay.
Your offer is not hearsay. It's offer.
The objection is sustained.
Did you take any security precautions?
No.
Did you want any security protection?
No, sir, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, I didn't want to carry a gun or anything like that, and I also didn't want like a private security detail following me around, just for lack of privacy. And at the time, the places that I was staying and the places that I were going, like I was staying at Rock Hill in my girlfriend's house, who has, you know, alarm systems and security cameras and whatnot. And then other than that, I'm staying in hotels, which.
All right. So I am going to, now this is a man, again, that says he does not, doesn't have a need for security. He's not concerned with his safety, you know, yada, 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 not concerned, not concerned. Okay. Well, let's watch the upcoming, we've seen this before because I play it all the time, but that's not what he said to Martha McCallum. Let's listen.
Fearful for your life if you believe the killer out there?
Absolutely.
State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant. Indictment for murder.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft?
I did lie to them.
Guilty. Verdict.
So this is a weird phenomenon that I'm seeing with Buster. Is he completely in denial? Or does he truly believe that somebody's out there? I'm sorry, but I'm not convinced. Check this out.
Are you fearful for your life if you believe the killer out there?
Absolutely. I think that I've set myself up to be safe. But yes, when I go to bed at night, I have a fear that there is somebody else still out there.
A lot different than what he is saying here as his testimony. Let's just make sure we got it right. Let's make sure we got it right. Let's just be sure. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Well, I didn't want to carry a gun or anything like that, and I also didn't want like a private security detail following me around, just for lack of privacy. And at the time, the places that I was staying and the places that I were going, like I was staying at Rock Hill in my girlfriend's house, who has, you know, alarm systems and security cameras and whatnot. And then other than that, I'm staying in hotels, which, you know, I just felt.
Did at some point in time you and your father announce a reward?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what I marked as Defendant's Exhibit 126 and ask if you identify this. If you can identify this.
Yes, sir. This is the reward.
It's a news release about the reward?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we've moved Defendant's Exhibit 126 to evidence at this time.
No objection.
Submitted without objection.
Can you pull it up, Doug? And if you could just pull out the top two paragraphs.
$100,000.
Oh, you can't. Okay. Did you work on this language with your dad?
Yes, sir.
Can you read to the jury the first two paragraphs, please, beginning with Alex and Buster Murdaugh?
Yes, sir. Alec and Buster Murdaugh announced today a reward of $100,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons who brutally murdered Paul and Maggie on June 7th, 2021. I want to thank everyone for the incredible love and support that we have received over the last few weeks. Now is the time to bring justice for Maggie and Paul. Buster and I, along with Maggie's mother, father, and our entire family, ask that anyone with helpful information immediately call the SLED tip line or Crime Stoppers.
Thank you. Now there's in the body of this, there's a expiration date on this reward. What's your understanding of the purpose of having an expiration date?
I'm not real sure.
Okay. Well, you say it says to be eligible, the person claims.
He helped craft this, but doesn't know why he has an expiration date on it. Okay.
Claiming the reward must submit the tip to SLED or Crime Stoppers by September 31, 2021?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Pinching.
What happened in September, early September 2021, Buster?
Talking about the.
Yeah, do you remember
Unaliving?
your dad
Yes,
going
sir.
off to detox, road shot shooting?
Yes, sir.
From that moment that your dad went to the hospital and went to detox, did he ever come back home to his property, his clothes, his belongings, to
No,
your
sir.
knowledge?
No, sir.
There's been some questions about
Chewing on the nails.
whereabouts are Alex's clothes. Can you tell the jury before he...
We saw him gnawing on his hands the entire interrogation, and that was the first time that I've seen him biting his nails during this one, and they're starting to get into some touchy subjects here, so I want to just bring that back.
questions about whereabouts are Alex's clothes. Can you tell the jury before he went off to detox where his clothes were? How many different locations he had clothes?
So had clothes at Moselle, had clothes at Greenfield, had clothes at probably a few clothes at Almeda, had clothes at Randy and Christie's house.
Clothes, and more clothes. He just had a plethora of clothes everywhere he went. It makes you wonder if he had all these clothes everywhere, why did Buster have to go pack him a bag of clothes? He has clothes at Almeda. He's got clothes at Greenville. He's got clothes at this person's house. He's got clothes at this person's house. Why did Buster need to go pack a bag? Why did they have to get up the next morning when they didn't sleep and go back to the Moselle property to take a shower? Because remember, Buster didn't stay at Moselle. Him and Brooklyn stayed somewhere else. So if they packed clothes or packed a bag, those bags would have been brought into Almeda. So what did they do? Did they pack bags, additional bags, to go back to Moselle to take showers? And why would anybody do that? This whole testimony that Buster portrayed on this stand is falling apart, in my opinion. Probably why people didn't take much stock in his testimony. It's got holes all through it. His testimony's Swiss cheese.
Had to close a lot of places.
Do you have clothes down at Chichesi or?
Yep. Chichesi, Okatee.
You have clothes at Edisto?
Yes, sir.
Do you have clothes in his car?
Yes, sir.
Can't lead the witness.
How many nights after June 7th, to your knowledge, did your dad spend at Moselle?
None.
How many nights after June 7th did you spend at Moselle?
None.
So nobody stayed the night there. Nobody slept there again. After the murders of his mother and his brother, nobody stayed there again. But they just had to take their last shower there. Does that make sense to you? I mean, is this a plausible story for the people in my chat? If this is a plausible story, put 1. If this sounds made up to you, put 2.
I'm gonna, Doug, you have the Snapchat video? Can you pull that up, please? Of the tree. Your Honor, this is the Snapchat video that's in evidence. I'll get the exhibit number for the record shortly.
Got a lot of 2s. All right, so there's the
Buster, you recognize that shirt?
Yes, sir.
So there's what he was in. Now he testified that his father was in shorts and t-shirt, much like Alec in the night his wife and son were murdered. That outfit he was wearing is not the outfit he was wearing that day.
What kind of shirt is it?
It's like a, short sleeve button down shirt.
Is it a Columbia shirt?
No, it doesn't look like a Columbia shirt.
What color is it?
It's blue.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Did your dad have a foam green Columbia sports shirt?
Maybe.
Okay. Is this it?
No, this is blue.
Right. Did do you know if your dad ever ordered any Vinnie Vine or I don't know? Did he order clothes after your mother and brother's murders?
Maybe he ordered clothes, but he doesn't wear a lot of Vineyard Vines.
Okay. Have you ever seen him buy Vineyard Vine?
No, sir.
Funny how his tongue always seems to glide along his bottom lip.
And you can take that down, Doug. Sometime in August, did you go with your dad where you played in a golf tournament?
Yes, sir. I went and played in a golf tournament, and he came and wanted to watch us play in it.
And what kind of golf tournament?
It's a golf tournament that a buddy of mine puts on in Somerville every year. It's called the Jasso Invitational. It's just a bunch of guys that are friends come together and play in a golf tournament.
And did you look up the date of that tournament before testifying today?
I did.
And what weekend was that tournament in August of, in 2021?
Yeah, it's the last weekend in August of 2021.
Okay. Do you know if you were in was there a house Johnny Parker had that your dad kept stuff in?
Yes, sir. There's a small house in between Johnny Parker's house and my Uncle Randy's house. I think Mr. Johnny built it for his mom or mother-in-law or something when she was sick. But yeah, there's a little 2-bedroom house right there.
And did your dad stay there?
He did.
I don't know if we mentioned that as one of the places where there was clothing.
Yeah, that'd be one. That'd be another one.
All right. So there are a lot of places.
Yes, sir.
Were you there? Did you observe your dad talking to Blanca about anything where you're getting ready to go on the golf trip?
No, sir.
Okay. You were not present?
No, sir. I don't think I was present.
Did you go in any other golfing outings in August with your dad, to your knowledge?
Yes. Earlier August of that year, we played golf down in Hilton Head with the people from the Trial Lawyers Convention.
Okay. Now you've been sitting in this courtroom since day one?
Yes, sir.
Once the trial started?
Every day.
And were you here when a video was played of an interview with your dad on June 10th?
Yes, sir.
And there was a question about whether your dad said, "I did him so bad," or "they did him so bad." Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize your dad's voice?
I do.
If you listen to it, would you be able to tell the jury whether it's I or they?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd like to pull up Exhibit 153, the clip.
Sitting on top of the day is so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I just want the audience to know, like, his father's playing the part, but we've got nothing. I mean, literally nothing from Buster. We see this theatrics from his dad. We see, the upsetness from the family, the true, like her sister and stuff. We see nothing, emotionless from Buster. Now, mind you, this is his mother, the woman that gave birth to him, and his brother. A sibling is literally your very first friend in this entire world. Nothing.
What'd your dad say?
Said they did him so bad.
Is that the first time you'd heard him say they did him so bad?
No, sir.
When was the first time you heard him say they did him so bad?
First time I heard him say that was the night that I went down to Moselle, the night of June the 7th.
Did he say that more than one time?
He did.
1 second, Your Honor. Let me check to see what I left out.
Drinking my last cup, guys. Uh-oh. It's getting to DEFCON 5 here. DEFCON 5. I'm down to my last cup of
Just very
coffee.
briefly, Buster, you've heard testimony during this trial that your dad was stealing money from clients. Did
Yes,
you know
sir.
anything about that?
No, sir.
And just lastly, roughly how long would it take to clean a dog run down at the kennels? 2 dog runs, for example.
Roughly, I'd say 10 minutes or so.
Okay. And what do you have to do?
You got to get the hose, turn the hose on, spray out the dog kennels. You got to, put the bed on top of the wooden box so the bed's not wet.
Again, explaining all the phenomenons in this case, from the shirt to now the water hose that we talked about yesterday. That water hose was tampered with from when the dog keeper or the groundskeeper cleaned the kennels earlier that day. If they're accustomed to cleaning those kennels every single day, they have a person that does that, and they did that day. Why would he need to do it again? Why would 2 of them need to be done again? It doesn't make sense. And here it is, Buster yet again explaining something, yet Buster was nowhere to be found when all this stuff was going on. Nowhere. He wasn't at this property. He was many, many miles away. He wasn't there. He just wasn't there. I just feel like he's the cleanup guy right now. I didn't feel like this at the trial. I now feel like this today.
Now, what are you spraying? Dog manure?
Yeah, spraying, dog poop.
And it spreads out, and you've got to...
That's right. Yeah, you got to spray it, make sure it's
Into
all
the
out
end.
of there. Spray it to the back.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
We'll take a break now, ladies and gentlemen, for about 15 minutes.
I take it they didn't do any cross-examination. So, guys, there we have it. I definitely, I'm going to turn on the phones because I'm curious to find out how, you feel now that we heard the interrogation. Now we know what he told police at the beginning of this case. We definitely all knew what he said at the trial. We all watched it, at least the ones that attended the show when we were playing this trial. I think we had like a regular 120 people that watched this trial with the coffee club. And I didn't put a whole lot of stock into Buster's testimony at all. For whatever reason, it wasn't that I believed him or didn't believe him. I didn't really have much of an opinion at the time with Buster. I just didn't. And I think it was because I didn't have anything to gauge his testimony with. You know, we knew that he would try to explain some stuff, but now that we know that some of these questions were asked of him back at the interrogation point, which was June or July, I think June 10th, I think it was June 10th. I'm pretty sure it was June 10th. And now that we have something to gauge his testimony on, we're starting to see some glaring issues. And it's probably much of what the state knew about Buster going into this. They probably didn't want to, he's the son. So when you're dealing with this, I already know that the jury will already take into account that this is this man's father and that his testimony, while they pray will be truthful, their job is to decide who is more truthful. So I would think that it would be natural for them to take into consideration that Buster is Alex's son and not put as much stock into his testimony as everything else, because he seemed to just button everything up, didn't it? It just seemed like he was there to kind of put a big, pretty bow on this case to help his father. Now, again, I have a problem with the fact that nobody sat on Maggie or Paul's side. Oh, thank you. What does it say? One youngism. Thank you for your hard work. Oh, thank you. God bless you. God bless you. But, it just seems like the whole purpose for Buster to be there for the defense was to put a big bow on everything, to tie all the loose ends up. That's now my perception of Buster's testimony, where my perception of Buster's testimony back at the trial was wildly different. I can't remember exactly what my position was with Buster's testimony. Maybe we need to go back and look. I don't even know which one it was, to be honest with you. But you know what? We know when the trial was. We can figure out what date Buster was on the stand, and we can go back to that testimony that day at trial and see what commentary was said. But I don't recall having this much of a personal opinion on Buster's testimony as I do today. I mean, I'm very critical of Buster's testimony now because I heard him for the first time. Again, it did bother me. I didn't notice it at first, but Mel C here in the chat brought up the fact that, Buster showed literally no emotion, none. If you have not seen it, I know it's a 3-hour live from yesterday. I recommend you watching the 3-hour live. It's a great support for this channel. There's a few commercials in there, so it's support for this channel all the way around. And it's good information, and you really get to hone in on Buster and Buster's behavior, because one of the first things that was noted up front was we couldn't tell at the moment, but it's right after the interview started with him and the police. Buster was sweating profusely, literally profusely, so much so that the detective was asking everybody else in the vehicle if they were comfortable. And every person in that vehicle was comfortable except Buster, profusely sweating. He was very fidgety throughout the entire interrogation. He scratched his eyes so much that his eye literally looked red here. I think if he was going to scratch his eye one more time, blood would have literally came out. Just ultra fidgety. And then the minute, like, he was there for an hour and a half in this interrogation, and literally the minute he steps out of that truck, it's like wicked, because Alec Murdaugh is just right there and just is adamant on shaking the cop's hand and being this upstanding citizen. Just, it was really, now that we know everything that we know, it was quite disgusting to see for me. And I'm sure it probably offended some people in the chat, because it offended me. At the moment when Buster asked if his dad disappeared from his sight, Buster's voice changed when he said, "No, sir," almost squeaked. Yeah, you just clearly, it's kind of funny, because I don't recall making these assessments when he was up on the stand when we were watching this in real time. I don't know I think it's because we're able to, now that we know the end result, we're able to analyze the information a little bit differently. And so seeing this interrogation kind of sparked something, but seeing this interrogation, and then the very next day seeing his, what he said on the stand, I think that really did help us identify several areas where he was inconsistent or not being truthful, or seeming to have withheld something with one respect or the other. Again, I'm opening up the phone lines as we speak. Give me just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail so I can get this turned on and make sure this is off, so you guys, I don't dox anybody. Oh, crap. I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Don't call yet. I got to put it back up on, make sure there's no numbers on there. There's not. Okay. Phone is on, guys. I don't know how you feel. You can call just to say hi. It's Sunday. It's nice to see everybody. I know we don't usually do Sunday shows, but it's a beautiful Sunday. And for many of you, you guys attended church with me this morning. Thank you for that. I always love, what a great message it was. It was just a beautiful production. Again, it always seems to just, every time I go to church, I don't know, it's like almost a miracle, right? And it probably works like this for you too. But it's crazy, because I heard what I needed to hear today. And I know we all have wildly different issues going on in our life. And I guarantee if you came to church with us, you would have probably heard a message specifically tailored for you as well. It's kind of weird how that happens, huh? The jury even went to the property. They did. And that's what's giving us, well, for me, it's what's giving me heartburn about the whole destruction of King Road in the Idaho 4 case. I didn't like the response from the state attorney, Bill Thompson, saying, this is so wildly different from the night these murders took place. And it's like, well, no crap. Every single crime scene is wildly altered from its original state, because they have to collect evidence. So having that as the reason, like, at this point, they're so close to the trial. Why did it have to happen? But it's no point in even crying about it at this point. It's crying over spilt milk. That the action's done. The house is demolished. It's gone forever. If the jury wanted to see it, they would not be able to see it. But like I said, with all the 3D imaging and imaging software that they have, we're very, very fortunate, because I believe that they'll be able to get a good idea of the layout of the crime scene and the layout of it as it happened. I want to go to this. I am going to this trial. It's not I want to. We are going to be in Idaho when this trial goes underway. When it starts, we're going to be there from beginning to end. It's going to be a costly trip. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle collection of that, because it needs to be separate from anything else that we do. because of the cost to it, because this is going to be a 6-week trial. So it's going to, I'm trying to decide now whether I want to drive or fly. It seems like, it would be beneficial for me to drive because of how long it's there. It's just one less expense to have, the flight and then the rental. But in fairness, I don't know if my vehicle is going to make it all the way to Idaho and back. I mean, that's like a 3 or 4 day drive. So I'm not sure how I'm going to handle it just yet. I haven't even gone to the drawing board, but we will be there one way or another. I'm going. I'll be there, rain or shine. Whether we get the money or not, I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we're going. We're going to be in Idaho for this trial. I'm interested in learning more about it. I don't know if I'll be inside the trial the entire time we're there, because we have to have commentary, and I'm going to be going live from out front to show a lot of different information and stuff, and get some interviews from people that are out there. I expect this to be a media frenzy, much like the Alec Murdaugh trial was, much like many of our high profile trials are, where we have just massive amounts of media. So I don't know. For those that want to call in, 724-249-6140. If nobody really has a whole lot to say, I will be shutting the phones down because we've been on here for over 3 hours. 3 hours, but I did promise you yesterday that I would open the phones up just in case anybody had any commentary to say. While we're waiting, I just wanted to tell everybody thank you who participated in today's show. There was a couple things. There was questions. So Stephen Lawson in the Crystal Rogers case was seen in court in the past week. I think it was for a bond reduction. I think you're right. I know it was for bond in general. I know it was a bond type of hearing. I don't know if it was for a bond reduction or just a bond if he had no bond. Either way, yes, that is correct. And I don't even remember the outcome. We're going to have to do a show specifically for Crystal Rogers. She's one of our subscribers' cousin. And we're definitely following the case, and I would absolutely love to go out there and because I'm going to, this is the situation is I'm going to South Carolina at the end of this month because Alec Murdaugh, new trial hearing is on. This is Betty. Hello?
Hey, Bullhorn Betty.
This must be Unicorn.
Why is everybody scared to call in to talk to you?
Because I bite, don't you know?
Your bark's worse than your bite.
Hey. I got a fake reputation to uphold here.
I gotcha. But no, all this crap with all this, it just tears me up that boy can get on the stand and not choke up or shed a tear when they ask him about his mom or dad or mom or brother. Mm-hmm. It just, I don't know.
I don't think I paid attention to his lack of emotion on the stand that day as much as I do that now that we saw his interrogation and he had no emotion literally days after, and then knowing he had no emotion on that stand, it seems so cold.
Well, yeah, because when we first watched it, we were thinking he was just in shock. Mm-hmm. But I really don't think that's what it was. I think he knew what happened. So he was trying to cover his dad's ass. And he would always look over to Dad for approval.
And his dad carried this smirk on his face almost the entire time he was testifying.
Yes. And when they would go to him, when they'd go to Alex, I would just love to smack that smurf off his face.
Because it was hard. It was a little unnerving for me too. I'm looking at it and I'm like, what a smug SO, what? I don't, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be.
I know. I'll say it for you. SOB. Yeah, I agree. It's just so sad. And what really, all the way around, when you come back and you said you went out to the gravesite and there's nothing there, that hurts.
I know. Well, it's not that. It's a combination. It's the fact that there was no Murdaugh sitting on the side of Maggie and Paul. Now, this is their nephew. This is, the Murdaugh family saw his, tissue laying out because they were all there that night. And you're talking about your nephew. Nobody's shedding a tear. Well, I shouldn't say that. Randy and what was it, John Marvin, when they were on the stand, they were very emotional about this, but nobody else in the family seems to be ultra emotional about it. And it's like, and then you couple that with no headstones, and it's like, man, how many times does Paul and Maggie have to be crapped on?
Right. Well, what I don't get too is, I know they're wealthy, beyond.
And that's even more insulting.
Yes. But her family, I know, are from Kentucky. Most people that live in Kentucky, and I don't want to be rude or whatever, but they can't afford it, but the Murdaughs can.
Yeah.
And that's just sick. Now, my other thing, after thinking about them not getting the headstones, do we know they're actually buried there?
It looked the way it's really weird how they are placed there. I think, hold on here, I got it in my phone.
Well, I was wondering if they were cremated and they really
That's what
haven't
it looks
even
like. It looks
buried
like
them
that
yet.
they were cremated and the urns were buried there. To be honest with you, that is exactly what it looks like, because that's kind of what I thought it was. It looks like that it is the urns, like just room enough because they're like stacked on top of each other. Here it is, right here.
Yeah.
Here it is. Let me hold on. I gotta take my screen off. Hold on. Let me take my virtual background off. There we go.
Oh, back it up. I can see it.
Do you see it? I mean, it's just it's got some plants around it, but it's just literally a marker, and there's not enough room. There's not enough room for a marker for it to be a casket. They're too close.
Right.
They're entirely too close together.
Right. My aunt and her son, when they had their funeral, because they had kept his urn for years, and then when she died, they buried him together, and it was bigger than that because we all got to shovel, some dirt. No,
they could have just put something there. I mean, it just looks really trashy. It takes people forever to find it. Nobody can really pay the respects to them unless they know exactly where it's at. And it's just sad. It's just sad. They were murdered senselessly, and they've got no freaking headstone from the most powerful family in that area.
Exactly. That's why I was thinking that, they were cremated and they have not even buried the urns yet, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's been 3 years. You got the markers there. Even if they weren't there, it's been 3 years since those markers were put there. They should have a headstone by now. Well over 3 years.
Whatever the situation is sad.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To be as rich as they were and to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway,
and it comes back again to a little frustration from Buster's side, because we hear Buster received $500,000 throughout this stuff. This is his mother, again, the woman he won't even shed a tear over, and she's still going without a headstone. I don't know what is up with this family, but there just seems to be something here,
They're code and calculated.
Yeah,
it's sick.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So,
all right,
anyway,
honey
I
bunny.
just wanted to give you my opinion, and like I said, my opinion only. And people call in, talk to BHB. She knows what the hell she's doing.
I bite. Not only that, we're already over 3 hours, so I'm going to kill the phones after you anyways.
All right, babe. Thank you for a great Sunday, and I'll talk at you later.
You got it. Bye, honey.
Bye.
Oh, she's such a doll. She really is. She's such a doll. So I just wanted to go through here, and I had that one starred because I saw it was a question. I couldn't get to it right at that moment. So I wanted to thank Sweet Misery again. Please don't forget to get over and subscribe to her channel. She does true crime, and we just did a collaboration on one of the victims of Turtle Boy. You might be very interested in finding out a little more information about that. I was quite shocked and surprised myself. Jennifer gave us 1, 2. Oh, Lord. She did a lot for the channel today. She gave 2 Bullhorn Betty memberships. If you have received one of your Bullhorn Betty memberships from her, please don't forget to tell her thank you. And we have Criminal Med. They had hundreds of guns. They shouldn't all be loaded and laying around, in my opinion. Oh, I remember why I grabbed this, Criminal. I grabbed this because it's a little different, because this is not city or anything. You have all adults out there. And quite frankly, there's nobody out there. Nobody. That's why it's such a shocker that they tried to plan B this case, because who's going to be out there? There's nobody out there. I mean, literally 1,700 acres. That's a lot of property. It's a huge amount of property. So I think that has a lot to do with it, and there's just nobody out there. They're all adults. It's not like they got a bunch of kids running around there with a whole bunch of loaded guns. I mean, you got all gun-toting people that live out there, and they live out there alone on a big, huge property with nobody around them. So to be honest with you, I think it's something just like that. I really do. I think it's something just like that. Thank you so much, Lulu's Nana, for the beautiful super sticker. It's me, Jen. She says, laugh my off. I love magic. I do vapes. Oh my goodness. And then thank you for your hard work, Team BHB forever. Oh, that's so sweet. Why, thank you guys. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I really did enjoy this live. I know Alec Murdaugh's not like the most popular case going on today, but we potentially could have a new trial. So it's a great time to be looking at this case, finding out stuff that we want to look at if and when the new trial comes. And don't worry, we're going to know very, very soon whether Alec Murdaugh does in fact get a new trial. I don't know about this. This one's one of those things I can't determine, right? Usually I have an idea, what the ruling may be, but this one is so, I don't know what they have against the clerk. And quite frankly, I thought I knew that there was no possibility of this, but if I'm now questioning that, and it's the truth, I am questioning it. So anyways, guys, you go make it a wonderful Sunday. God bless each and every one of you. Don't forget, we're going to start tomorrow, Monday morning, our Manic Monday, 7:30, not 6:30, 7:30, guys. So I'll see you back tomorrow morning, 7:30 for our Manic Monday session. Have a great day. God bless each and every one of you. Until next time, please be safe and especially kind to one another in the chat box below. We say no to cyberbullying. Just be kind to people. It's the right thing to do, and we love doing the right thing. God bless.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.